And we're live.
We are live.
We're alive.
Hey,
are
everybody.
We are alive.
Hello.
Welcome to Stay on Target.
Yeah.
Welcome.
You probably heard us talking of just a few minutes ago, at least on Facebook.
Yeah.
Because we didn't realize the mics were live, but
Funny
we're
stuff.
live.
Oh, yeah.
That's what happens when you preset your live time and it goes live. So,
Oh, yeah.
hey,
You are
thanks
not
for
prepared.
thanks for being here with us. Hopefully, we're live on YouTube and Facebook simultaneously. So, and Dustin's here live, and Nick's here live.
Yeah.
I'm alive.
And Dan's here live.
And Dan's here live. So I live here. So why
I
wouldn't I
live
be here live?
I live here.
Oh, this
I
is-
live
I
here.
live here. I do. I live and I live here.
Here's a continuous stream
Yeah.
going. You can check him out at Dan Live all the
Right,
time.
yeah.
Yes.
He's just literally
Just
in
me
here.
following me around the
That'd
house.
be funny if that was an actual thing. Maybe don't
The
look that
Truman Show?
up. Yeah,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
basically what
it's
it is.
basically the Truman Show.
Spoilers for the Truman Show.
Spoilers.
Oh, anybody ever seen it?
Oh,
No, that's
yeah.
pretty much the premise right off the bat
Yeah.
of that movie.
Yeah. Everybody knows but him, I think, at the beginning,
Yeah.
right at the
But then
beginning
he
of the
figures
movie.
it out,
He
'cause
finally
everybody's
figures it out.
acting Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be odd.
It would be.
After
Realizing it was a
watching
TV
that
show.
movie, did you ever think after watching that movie,
like you were being watched,
what if
right?
What if I am
What if
Truman?
this is a TV show?
What if this is a TV show?
Is this real life?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely thought that a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe not a lot, but I've definitely thought that before. I'm like, sometimes when you're in restaurants and you're like, man, I just need a glass of water refilled at my table. And then like 2 seconds
Right.
later, they haven't been there in an hour.
Yeah.
And 2 seconds later, like,
Yeah. It reminds
What?
me of the other day.
are
I
they,
was-
this table mic'd? Or,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had hot chocolate at a restaurant,
No.
and the waitress just came. Okay, I didn't. The end of the story.
And
The waitress came up and took my cup without me even realizing it, and brought me back some water. And I was like, "How'd you know I wanted water?" I didn't even say anything.
wow.
She just read my mind.
she read your mind.
How'd she
Those
do
are the
that?
She has
waitresses
the
that
force.
you tip really well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did.
Maybe you just marry her.
No, she was.
Wait, so you got
was older.
What did you first
Okay.
get?
What?
What
Hot
did you-
chocolate.
Wait,
Because
so-
I was feeling adventurous.
So then
Ah.
but then she took the hot chocolate and gave you
Yeah,
water.
it was empty. I drank it all.
Was it free refills on the hot chocolate?
No,
Oh, well then.
never is free refills on. Where do you
So,
go to get
I
free
mean,
refills
there's-
on hot chocolate?
I don't know. No, but like Bob Evans and stuff,
All right,
you can get
restaurants.
like
What's the deal?
Yeah.
Bob Evans. You can get like
What's up with restaurant food?
cappuccino thing there, and you can get free
Your
refills on that.
cappuccino thing.
So it's similar.
It's similar. Well, there's our cold opening, guys.
Right.
Yeah. Welcome.
Stay on
Welcome to
target.
We
Stay
do
on
actually talk
Target.
about Star Wars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we do talk about all things.
Yeah.
So we emphasize that at the beginning, and then we jump into Star Wars-y thingies.
Yeah.
That was the all things.
That was the all
Yeah,
things
we-
first.
Really, it's just that. It's like random things, and then okay, let's go to Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. The interesting thing is that there was not a new episode of The Mandalorian since the last time we
man.
filmed this.
I was having withdrawals too.
Yeah, you
I
guys
was
having
like,
withdrawals.
I need to get my Star
Mando.
Wars fix.
Yeah.
So I played Jedi Knight Fallen Order. Actually,
Oh, yeah.
How far
Quite a
did you
bit.
get in it?
I
You
don't
said
want
you got
to.
the,
Yeah, I'm past.
Yum.
I'm past that now. You,
Yeah.
no, I'm past that now.
Yeah.
I got to the. I don't want to give anything away though. That's the only thing. If they haven't played it, I'm to the point where you're on the attack. Let's say that.
Okay.
Just spoilers.
So
Did you go to Dathomir yet?
I did.
Okay.
Dathomir is freaky. Like
Yeah.
playing
I didn't
that.
really
Like
I didn't really like Dathomir.
playing Dathomir. The coolest thing about Dathomir was how well it actually tied into the story
Yeah.
and to the Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Which I liked. They actually did a good job connecting things, and it was interesting for me. That boss fight was ridiculous
I
on
know.
Dathomir.
I was
like,
like,
there's no way. I
Yeah.
ended up changing the setting down to
changing the
to a-
difficulty.
yeah, because I was like,
That's how
on the
I-
8th try, I was like, okay.
Yeah. You're like,
when do
okay,
you when do
it's
you
too cheap.
when do you just
When do you just
dull it
give
down
up?
a little bit
Yeah.
and just get through it so you can get to the story? Because I've
Yeah.
been trying to beat this game for like a couple months now.
Yeah,
Right,
since
yeah.
it came out the beginning of November.
Yeah.
Yeah, same time as Mando.
Yeah.
Mando Commando.
But
It's
yeah,
a
playing
tough one.
Dathomir at like midnight by yourself in the dark is a little. It's
Little
not that
intense.
scary, but it's just funny because you're just like, oh, it's creepy. Dathomir is just a creepy place.
Yeah, it is. Even in
But-
the Clone Wars
even-
series,
yeah.
anytime they showed them, did they go there in Rebels? I don't think so.
I don't think they do.
No,
I
I, think
remember.
just in Clone Wars.
We'll have to watch that again.
Yeah, we'll have to watch it again.
Hey.
Yeah, it's a good game though, but it's quite intense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm Go to the wide shot. There we go.
Boom.
We might have to
Jedi
go,
Fallen Order.
we might have to
Yeah.
do a talk on this game.
Yeah, we might have to do a special
I'm
episode
almost,
on
I
this.
think I'm almost done. How, am I close to being done?
After, if you're on Dathomir,
I'm not on Dathomir. I'm on.
are you after Dathomir?
Yes, I'm after Dathomir.
Yeah, you're close.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I figured.
Yeah, we're playing.
I already went back to Bogano.
Yeah.
Went there, did that stuff, and
You got in
now
the
I'm
vault
to the
and
new
stuff?
place.
New place.
The place you haven't you can't visit until now.
Is that his
That's-
ship?
Yeah, you're like at the end.
That's not his ship. It's actually the
It's actually
forearm
that- yeah.
dude's ship.
What kind? What
Oh,
creature is
okay.
He oh
I don't
man,
remember he's
what
called.
is he's the same as in Rogue One? No,
Yeah.
not Rogue One.
Solo.
Solo.
Okay.
I don't.
I
remember
forget-
what
So
he's
John
called,
Favreau played him in
Mhm.
Solo?
In Solo,
Oh, okay.
which was, man, he did such a good job.
Yeah, he
with
did.
him in Solo.
Yeah.
You should review Solo.
though. He pretty much does.
should
a
do,
good
yeah.
job with every character he has.
I know pretty much everything he does.
Yeah.
It's
He was
almost like
spot
it's
on.
almost like instant
Yeah.
classics whenever he makes movies.
Yeah.
Elf, instant classic.
Yep.
You know, The
He was the one that did
Mandalorian,
the,
instant classic.
He did
Exactly.
the remake of The Lion King too.
Yeah, I haven't
just
seen
found
that
that out
one.
the
Yeah, we haven't
actually.
seen that one
I haven't
yet.
seen
but
that one
either.
It did make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Disney.
Did it?
Did you guys see that? Disney. Their total sales for 2019.
It was
so the total was
ridiculous.
in. Yeah.
What was it?
It was something. But
Billions
just
of
the
dollars.
percentage of ticket sales compared to all other studios, the math works out to be 1 in 3 tickets bought for any movie in the world was a Disney movie.
Yeah.
1 in 3. So they had
Wow.
about 33% of the box office total for 2019.
That sounds
Oh,
like
yeah.
a
With-
monopoly.
It makes sense when you
It's a
Almost.
third,
Yeah.
yeah. But
I
they
think
had
we
a
need to break
huge
Disney
year.
up.
I don't think they'll ever have.
Take down Disney.
I don't think they'll have a year. It'll be a while before they have a year that huge, because that was. I mean, if you think 3 billion of that, or just about was.
Did you just spill some?
I did.
Oh
You see
man,
that?
I needed the close
And
up.
then you licked your cup.
Yeah.
Genius. Sorry.
It works.
Shouldn't have called attention to that. I'm such a good friend.
I don't think
What were you saying, Dan? Sorry.
Entertainment, no entertainment. I was just saying
Entertainment
that
factors.
they had
Entertainment through the
Endgame.
Not a sponsor.
Entertainment is not a sponsor.
It's not sponsored.
Entertainment 720 is
provide.
not a sponsor.
Wow, is it 682 degrees in here?
Yes,
Wow.
the dot is just really small
really
between the
tiny.
8 and
I
the
can't
2.
We're
see it.
on
Dathomir?
no,
Oh.
no. I mean, Dathomir is high, but I don't think it's that high.
No, there's a lot of.
We're on
fu-
Mustafar.
Yeah,
And
Mustafar.
that is a good transition into the Rise of Skywalker, right?
Yeah, good job, Dustin.
Yeah.
Actually, you were saying something before that.
I wasn't. I was just rambling
No.
about Disney's crazy sales.
It
But
is
they
crazy.
do have Star Wars, and they got a bunch of sales, and I think the latest movie will probably hit $1 billion.
Yeah.
It's on track to do that.
Maybe.
Yeah, and I've heard
Maybe.
more rumors of a couple things.
Okay,
Even still about what they
Rumor
might
has it.
do
what they might do.
moving forward. Yeah.
What they might
There's
do
a
moving
lot of
forward.
rumors out.
Well,
There's
we got an
crazy
article that
hard
we're
to-
going to bring up later
Okay.
about the future of Star Wars. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the Rise of Skywalker. Hopefully, you guys have seen it. I'm looking at this camera, but I'm
Oh,
actually
yeah,
down
there
here.
we go.
What camera?
You were
Everybody,
looking
where
at the
am
top
I?
one.
everybody
It was
look
over
at
there.
the right
We
camera.
changed the setup a little bit.
The
but,
right camera or
No, I mean
the wrong camera?
No, the camera that we're supposed to
On the
look
right.
at.
Yeah, right.
I hardly ever look at the camera.
It is
Hi,
weird.
people.
Hello.
Hi.
You
Yeah,
can't. We can't see you. But you
Say
can see
hi
us.
back if you can see us, and say hi,
and then tell us
and
if
then
you said hi.
tell us if you said hi.
And in podcast audio form, the people are going to be like, why are they talking?
There's
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 no
two
camera.
cameras
There's
in
two
here.
cameras.
Just visualize for a minute.
It's like two eyeballs.
We
on
don't.
A very
Do we release this on
asymmetrical head.
podcast?
we haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
But one day it will
So
be
it's
in
only,
audio
It's
form.
only
Yeah.
video, right?
Yeah, right now it is only video. But if you're listening to
It's
this
a
1,000 years
Yeah,
in the future,
when we do put this
Right.
podcast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'll
Check out
probably-
our other videos.
the
That we have
benefit
yet
of
to make.
audio
Yes.
is that I can edit all of this out.
Right.
I can just cut right to the important stuff.
Basically, it's just going to be a podcast of Dan talking to himself.
Just
And
mute
there's
your
gonna be
guys'
like,
mics the whole time.
Who's he talking to?
That's
Oh,
the
man.
intrigue
Just
of
Dan
the
making,
podcast.
making
I have the
goofy
power.
noises in the
That's the name
background.
of Dan's podcast.
Yeah.
Who is he talking to?
Who is he talking
Yeah,
to?
you want to see the kind of power I have? All right, let's just try this again.
Oh no.
Yeah, you guys are done for. And then I think
Also
I
a
can.
good segue into.
Let's see if I can blow up my
Yeah,
computer
yeah.
while doing this. So,
Okay.
No spoilers, yeah.
are you guys still there?
Yeah. Can you hear us?
No, I can't hear you. Oh, the power. Oh, and yeah. So now you're back. So this is the Dan show, and here's the Dustin, Nick, and Dan show. Hey, you guys are back. Yay!
And there was much rejoicing.
People watching this are like, What's he doing?
These guys are
Like
weird.
he's just going.
This is an
click,
awful
click, click,
audio
click.
quality. It sounds like they're like
They
100
keep
miles
cutting
away.
out.
We're cutting in and out.
Right.
All right, but they're back.
Dan holds the power.
No, I can
He
just
is the
mute things if
emperor.
I want to. Yeah, I'm the
Dead
emperor.
speak.
It is how he has foreseen it.
Yeah, the dead speak.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
okay,
those-
wait, no spoilers yet. We got to get into it.
I mean,
All
that's
right.
not really.
Are we ready to
spoiler.
get into it, guys?
I think we're
Yeah,
ready to
I
get
mean,
into it. What I was going
yeah.
to say is the
Yeah, go ahead.
podcast episodes will be about 10 minutes because once I edit everything down,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the live streams are 2 hours and the edited
It's
podcast.
just like random sentences and then like laughing. It's like,
It'll just be the best of.
right.
The best of, yeah. Just like one
just
comment
jokes
for
after-
each person and then
Right.
done.
Oh,
was good.
man.
I thought it was good.
I thought it was good.
But
The end.
but it is a new year, guys.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
Happy
man.
2020.
Happy 2020.
Happy 2020, everybody.
Happy 2020.
2020.
2020.
The year of perfect vision.
I hope so.
Yeah, you just
Dad
took it
jokes.
too far.
if you get that LASIK eye surgery, it's
I know.
the year of perfect
that you've
vision.
been talking about
That
for
we've been
years.
talking
No, I'm
about.
just joking.
Oh, I just haven't saved up enough money for that yet.
Right?
I don't know.
To get my retinas burned.
Special eyes.
Yeah.
My special
Hey, but
eyes.
your eyes are kind of important. It's one of those things. Like you go to the eye doctor and they give you like a new prescription, and you're like, why didn't I do this 2 years ago?
Right, you're like, oh, I can.
I think
Yeah.
I could see
colors.
pretty good.
Right. And the eyes are also one of those things that as you get older, you're like, this isn't gonna get any better.
Right. This keeps getting
Unless you
worse.
do
Right.
get like something like
Why
that
is it
done.
so dark
LASIK.
in here?
Yeah.
Why is it so dark? It's fading.
Oh wait, because my eyes are shut. I'm asleep.
The moral of the story is take care of yourself, people.
Yeah,
take care of
take
yourself.
eat your carrots.
Eat your carrots. That'll help your eyes.
Carrots are good for
Eat your
eyesight.
veggies.
They're supposed to be.
New Year's
Lie to me.
resolutions. We're all gonna get fit.
Yeah.
get ripped.
Get
Yes.
eye fit.
Get eye fit.
Eye fit.
We've signed up at
A local.
gym.
A local eye gym.
I was trying to think of
Oh,
a Star Wars
yeah.
related gym, but
Ooh.
I couldn't think of anything.
A Star Wars gym.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
What,
What
do
would
they
that
do?
be? What would be a
They
Star
just
Wars
give you
gym?
some like back to
Boba Fett.
infusion, and you're like in
Boba
shape.
Fett?
Yeah.
That's a good
Boba
one.
Fett. Oh man, that's genius. They give you some.
I
like,
wanted to think of something like Empire related, like if you don't do this, you'll die.
Right.
You know?
Lando, get
Yeah.
those gains, bro.
Yes.
Good one.
Yes. Yes.
All right, we got some comments on the thing here too. So
Comment.
give me a
Nice.
second while I dig them up.
Comments.
Dig 'em.
Dig them. Like with the shovel.
Just like digging up Boba Fett.
Boba Fett. Boba Fett.
You think he's alive?
Boba Fett.
I think he's alive.
Where?
I think he's alive, and he's coming back in season 2 of Mandalorian. That's just a hunch.
Oh, is he
This
going
is
to
what
be
a
the
feeling I have.
established characters that they're talking about?
Maybe.
Because they say,
Maybe, baby.
you know, I might leave.
Okay, let's see what we got here.
Ah.
Oops, audio. So wait, we got Brady Dexter watching. He said, "Hey, I see
Brady!
you."
Dan, you want to switch?
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
don't.
switch it.
We want to see you talk instead
Hey,
of
I'm
us.
here talking.
I'm just going to cover my face for this section.
Yeah, hey Brady, what's up?
What's
He
up,
sees
man?
us.
What's up, man?
You can't see him now.
now.
He probably commented like 20 minutes ago.
Right.
He's like, I'm out.
He's like sleeping. It's Monday.
That was great.
I got to do it one more
I got to do it one more time.
It is
Wow.
Monday
All
though.
right. Brady
Yeah,
said something,
thanks.
though. Maybe we should let Brady
Yeah, Brady, what are you talking about?
Yeah. What?
What did Brady say?
What do you say?
He just said he can see you.
Oh.
That's it. Comment
I
is
think,
over.
See you.
Okay, so they he said hi, basically. 'cause
Yeah.
like
Yes,
we were
yeah, he
saying,
said hi.
He can't
Yeah,
see
he's
us.
watching
Oh,
and he can
perfect.
see you.
Okay.
Yes.
So
I was
that's
so confused
important.
there for a minute. That was my
I
own
thought he was
thing.
gonna
It's
quote
important
up.
that he can see
I
us.
can
So.
smell you.
I can smell you.
And we got Alisand on YouTube. Hey guys. Hey Alisand and Carla. Hi there, Carla.
Hello.
Hi.
Very happy New Year 2020 to you all as well. So thank
Yeah.
you. Happy
Yeah.
2020.
Happy 2020.
I'll try to be a little more
We can see
swift.
you.
try to be a
Oh,
little more
man.
swift with the
Swift.
commenting.
Comments. Yeah.
Yeah. Because sometimes they mention something and
And then like,
we ask them a question and they respond and we wait like 10 minutes and we're like,
Yeah.
oh, they
well, it's
answered
also
the question.
because the stream
there's
versus
a little
the
bit
up,
of a-
there's a little bit of a lag too, so we
Lag.
won't see your comments even right away because
Right.
there's a little bit of a lag. But we'll get to them as soon as possible.
So if you just
So
totally
don't forget about it.
if you just totally fell back in your chair, they wouldn't see it for 20 seconds.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Could I get back up in time for them not to see it?
Right.
Now we're breaking the laws of physics.
How long do people blink?
Time
for?
travel.
Ooh.
Oh, 2020, yeah. What's that? Fact checker here.
Brady said happy 2020.
Happy 2020. Yeah.
Good job, fact
Thanks,
checker.
man.
Fact
Thanks.
checker.
Fact checker!
Check some facts.
Checking them
yelled.
facts.
Okay, we're gonna get into this.
Yeah, we
Let's
should
do
probably
this
get
thing,
It's
yeah.
gonna take a while.
We're gonna talk about
All right,
the
you guys
Rise
ready?
of Skywalker.
We're ready.
Have we been putting it off? We haven't been putting it off.
No, we haven't been putting it off.
We put out the last episode.
We've
We
been-
talked about Mando, and that episode
It was a season
necessitated
finale. I mean,
a good
you know,
conversation. Yeah.
Did it seriously?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
What's the score?
It was a perfect score.
Whoa.
That's
Yeah.
impressive.
I don't know how
That's
they're gonna
most
top it.
impressive.
I don't know either.
If Rotten
Oh,
Tomatoes gives it 100%.
I did hear something else about the Mandalorian real fast too.
Okay.
I didn't realize. I think we had talked about this before. I'll get to the point. But the guy who played the body double basically for the Mandalorian,
Yeah.
that was
Boba
no. That was what's
Leroy
his
Jenkins?
No.
John Wayne.
John Wayne's grandson.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so the actual guy who shows up and hands out his hand whenever the sweet music plays in Mandalorian, and sorry, spoilers for Mandalorian, kinda. When the Death Watch Mandalorian shows up and puts his hand out to Din Djarin.
Yep.
Wow, dyslexia.
The Django.
But that was actually him. That was actually
That's John Wayne.
John Wayne's grandson. He had to
Wow.
walk.
Wow.
He had to
Yeah.
walk to him, maybe. And I
okay.
heard that he also did a lot of the body double work for
he's a stuntman.
him, for actual
Right.
the Mandalorian. So in part, he was the Mandalorian in some ways.
Right.
Nice.
I think
Which is crazy to think about.
it is kind of crazy. It's like a weird.
That's cool though.
It is really cool.
That you have
Mhm.
someone as iconic as John Wayne,
Yeah.
This
well,
is grandson.
grandson, doing the Mandalorian.
Right.
I could totally see John Wayne in the Mandalorian
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
because
yeah.
of the Western feel.
Mhm.
Anyway, I just
I
thought
think
that
that's-
I thought that was
maybe that's why they
interesting
put
that
him in
was
there.
actually his grandson.
They-
I know he worked on it. I didn't realize it was actually the Mandalorian and the cool guy that saves the
Cool
the
guy.
Mandalorian,
Is that
you
what
know,
we're gonna
because it
call
was like, yeah, the cool guy.
Cool guy.
Because he's like the sweet guitar line when he walks up,
Yeah.
and then he's like,
Yeah.
"Come with me," but he doesn't say anything.
Come with me if you want to live.
If you want to live,
Gotcha. That's crazy.
I don't know.
That's
I just thought
super
that was
cool.
cool. Anyway,
Yeah.
small. Let's get into this.
That's a cool nugget that I think I did read that he was the full stunt double in chapter 6 maybe.
Okay.
One of those. Chapter
Oh.
5 or chapter 6. Maybe it was 5 when he's running in the desert when they went to Tatooine.
Oh, okay.
I can't recall, yeah. But that's
Yeah, that was a hilarious meme. He sent us a hilarious meme earlier
Yeah.
about that. That was funny.
but we
We'll-
missed
we'll
the
get
show
to that.
already
Yeah.
and we're ready for
Yeah, I
we're
missed it.
ready for the next season.
Yeah.
And so we'll
It's gonna
talk
take a
about that
while.
as we go.
Yeah.
But let's jump into some Rise of Skywalker talk.
Rise of
Oh
Skywalker.
yeah, let's
time.
do this.
It's time.
It is time. Finally, the full,
Hey!
the full,
The full plot
Experience.
thing.
yeah, the
plot
full
thickens.
spoiler
I didn't even
talk.
know you had a plot.
Because we kind of did a spoiler talk before, but we were kind of hesitant to go full spoilers.
Yeah,
this
it was
time,
only, yeah.
we're going full spoilers. So
Yeah,
if you
if
have
you haven't
not
seen it, go watch it.
go watch it now because
Yeah.
we're about to spoil literally everything about the movie.
Everything.
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 It's going to be in depth. Buckle in. 3 hours, maybe 4.
No,
I'm just
probably
joking.
not.
Yeah, not that
Definitely
long.
not.
It's a
We're going to go
Monday.
scene for scene.
Okay.
We got an early release.
All right.
We're friends with JJ.
Yeah.
Release the JJ
JJ.
cut.
Release the JJ cut. I
Alright.
saw that.
That's what
Yeah,
that's something
I
I
saw
wanted
that.
to talk
okay,
about.
we'll have to talk about that.
Anyway,
Yeah,
so who
'cause
wants to
that's
start
a,
us
that's a
off?
nugget. Well, right in the opening crawl, they talk about Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah.
And so we're
What
not.
did, what did you
dead
think
speak.
about that?
I was
opening crawl?
amazed that they did that right at the beginning. I was kind of.
Right.
I'm like, oh wow.
Wow, they're just jumping into it.
Yeah, they dove
Yeah.
right in. It kind of set the stage for like, all right, this movie's gonna go past what you thought was gonna be a big reveal later,
Right.
and we're just giving it to you at
Yeah.
the beginning.
Right.
Which kind of sets up the whole movie as far as
Yep.
surprises go in some ways.
Yeah,
It's
right.
basically just deal with it. Here
Right.
it is. Deal with it.
Yeah, right.
You see-
Almost
you see
like,
the-
what? I have no time to process anything.
Right.
the dead
That's
is.
like the
I
whole
think
movie.
Yeah.
isn't that what you said, Nick? It's the
The
dead.
dead speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I watched a few other YouTubers. They're talking like, "What is this? Like a? Does he have his own podcast?"
Yeah.
And then they went into a bit about him, like, "Hey everyone, it's Sheev Palpatine.
Okay.
You man, she.
Oh, you man, Sheev." Oh my! It was so funny.
Oh man, I know that opening crawl. I know all opening crawls are gonna be kind of goofy in some
Yeah.
ways, but that one for me was probably the cheesiest opening
Dude,
crawl.
My expectations were low, and they just hit rock bottom with that.
I hate
was
to
like,
say it. I
the
hate to
first
say it, but
sentence
that's
is,
what I
"The dead
felt.
speak," and I'm like,
I
oh.
laughed through most of that crawl,
Yeah.
which is terrible. I shouldn't
Yeah.
laugh at it.
Alice
I don't know
Sand-
why. I
Alice
just-
Sand commented. buckles seatbelt.
Buckles seatbelt.
Nice. Buckled in.
We're buckled in now.
We're buckled in now.
This is gonna get intense, but yeah, it definitely.
I don't
mean,
know.
You had to buckle in because right up the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, I walked into my show. I think I told you last time, like with 0 minutes to spare.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, let's breathe for a minute. Okay, we're not breathing. We're off.
Right.
The roller coaster's taking off.
Boom, hit over the head with something right off the
Right.
bat. You're just
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah, it was like the dad speak. Emperor's back. I don't know how. Doesn't matter how. He's back.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's Kylo jumping right out. It was a pretty cool opening shot with
Yeah.
him looking
Him
angry.
killing the
Well, oh yeah, the
people.
battle. Yeah,
I
he
don't
was
even
just
know what
wrecking
That
shop.
was Mustafar. Did you know that?
Was it
Was it?
Mustafar?
That's what they said. They said it was Mustafar. It looked totally different
lava.
from Mustafar. But it was like red and stuff like that. But that kind of makes sense for the
Okay.
fest. I think it was Mustafar anyway.
There was trees. I
I
know
know.
that.
Wait,
they
no,
said
no.
That Mustafar was in the film.
Oh, okay. Was that
but I
Mustafar?
don't remember where it was.
I don't know where it was, but
I
they
mean,
didn't.
it's a planet, so I mean, there could be other
Yes,
places
it
with
is a
trees, but
yeah,
It's
it was a cool
volcanic
shot.
because
soil.
That
Mustafar
was-
used
yeah.
to, I guess, in the comics and stuff like that, Mustafar used to be like a
A luscious green.
luscious
planet?
green planet, but something
Yeah.
happened to it. I don't know. They
Yeah,
went to
it
it.
got
It's one of the
evil.
comics. Yeah.
I will say they showed a snippet of the Rise of Skywalker at the end of Chapter 7 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
You remember that?
And it was
It was basically what happened in the first couple of minutes of this
yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
So if you watched all the trailers and the TV spots, which I did pretty much,
It was the first.
it was basically the first 5 minutes of
Yeah.
the movie was basically everything that they gave you in all the promotions, which I was
Yeah.
actually kind of surprised by.
Right.
In the full trailer, the full final trailer, there was definitely some stuff they saved for the end.
yeah. Well, and
Rey
they get,
and-
and then the horses,
The
Yeah,
horses,
space
were-
space horses,
space horses.
which actually had like I missed it the first time watching
Yeah.
it,
It
but it
had
actually had a
merit.
point to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I didn't mind the fact that it had a little bit of a point. It was still kind of a bit of a throwaway line, but it still actually gave it like a reason for them to have the space horses versus
Right.
just like speeder bikes. Also, it seemed like they almost did better just running, but
Right. Yeah.
but I don't know.
outran those horses.
No, not really.
it
But,
got them there quickly.
It did.
but not.
but what
out
happened to
as
the rest
quick.
of the
They
horses?
weren't-
They just ran off the edge.
Well, that's
I
what
don't
I
know.
want to know. So they just sent all those.
I guess.
Where's PETA?
Right.
Just-
we gotta
I should
get some
shouldn't go
animal
into
rights.
that.
No, maybe
Right.
not. we gotta get some people figuring this stuff out. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
no animals were hurting.
so were those people living on the planet of Endor, Endor's moon, or whatever that was?
Yeah, it was like what was that place? Was that actually that was a moon of Endor or a planet?
Yeah, something like that.
I think it was a moon of Endor. But yeah, it was like basically a battalion
So-
of
yeah.
stormtroopers
That deserted.
that deserted
Yeah.
all at the same time. Which brings me to another question too, because they were talking during that scene. We're kind of jumping around, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we do it.
yeah, but they were talking
Jump
in that
around.
scene. They were talking in that scene that that they all like they had like a unanimous decision
Hmm.
to all not do what they were supposed to do and
Right.
just leave. But the weird thing was Finn had that one, and he was the only one in his battalion.
Yeah.
And then I believe the whole point they were getting across in this movie was
Yeah.
that Finn had the Force,
Yeah.
and I'm
He was
pretty
Force.
sure
Right.
that's what he was going to tell Rey,
Yeah.
There's a good
That he had
chance.
the
We
Yeah.
were
Force.
like,
because they never answer that.
We were like, what was he gonna tell her?
It was like a Batman v
Yeah,
Superman
someone-
thing
who
right
was that
there.
that told us. It was the last podcast, I think.
Yeah.
They
It-
like
they
brought
could-
it up. They were like, I
Yeah.
think he was gonna tell her that he was Force sensitive.
Yeah, one of the commenters
No,
you're talking
yeah,
about? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I
Mm,
can't remember, but
it-
I
I
think
think
you're right.
I think
Makes
somebody
sense.
confirmed that online too.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
100%, but
Well,
I
yeah, I mean,
think.
it's got to be because
I'm
nothing
pretty
else
sure.
happened.
But
But-
they hinted at it a lot throughout the movie.
But my
Yeah,
question though is
so-
still like, if they all did that, does that mean they're all Force sensitive?
Right.
Because he had that moment of realization, and
Yeah.
how he was talking to her was almost like they had a connection even in the Force.
Yeah.
So were they basically saying that they were all Force sensitive?
Right,
That whole
exactly.
battalion was
Yeah.
Force sensitive?
Oh, right.
Right.
I don't know, maybe not, but it was like kind of almost what they were alluding to.
Yeah.
But interesting thing to think about. There.
Yes.
Yes.
That is an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I wish they would have
thing-
more time to
thing-
develop
thing
so
there.
much more of this movie.
Yeah. Like yeah.
He
like you
should have
said, it
done.
was-
He should have done 8 and
Yeah.
9. He should have done 8.
Well, that's
9.
pretty much what this movie was.
Yeah, it was 8 and 9.
He was like, I'm so
squished
sorry
into
for what
2
Ryan
2 hours and
Johnson
20
did.
minutes.
Here's what I should have done.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
It was kind of, it did feel like in a lot of ways that he kind of
He
did his own 8, 8.5, and 9.
Yeah.
Kind of undoing, but explaining some of the things that didn't work.
didn't
And 8
completely undo 8.
No, he built on it in a way that
tied into it a bit.
He built on it, yeah, in a way
But it
that
was, like-
wasn't necessary, or
It was like the least amount as possible.
kind of, yeah,
though.
yeah.
Really. And then some of the characters said lines that were almost like Luke when he was like, when he's saying, he was like, it was fear that was holding me back.
Right.
I was wrong. It was like
Right.
straight. I
Just
was
like,
wrong. That was
boom,
like,
punch to the face.
okay, that
We
seemed
have
like
a YouTube comment.
you have
Yeah.
YouTube.
We got from Gabe Savinsky. You know
That's
that?
my brother.
He said, "What up, Nick? You nerd."
What up, man?
Nice. You are a nerd.
Yeah, you're a nerd.
Right back at you. No,
Nice.
thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
No,
He's
but
probably
You
right.
nerd.
did you see the movie? Did you see the movie?
No, he didn't.
Oh, he didn't see the movie.
He says he wouldn't remember this
He wouldn't remember.
because he started watching one of our episodes earlier, and I'm like, yeah, it's about the Mandalorian. He's like, yeah, I'm not gonna remember anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
funny.
Also, yeah, he like just today found out that I was in a podcast. He's like, why am I now just finding this out? I was like,
You should maybe move this down a little bit
why? I
because
like
they
it in
can't
my
see your
face.
face
Yeah, but
whenever they got
That's
the
how I
name.
go incognito. Don't look at me.
He's ashamed of
Wow.
his nerdness. Is that
No.
My nerdiness.
There it is. But Nick, you do have you're growing back your facial
Yes,
hair.
I
It's
am.
coming
Look at
back,
that.
and you're
Yeah, from the first
all
episode
scraggly.
yeah.
where he
You
was
need to get
Jesus.
a
I know,
screenshot of
right?
that.
Woo.
No, it's
I'm gonna
not
look
the
like Chewbacca this time.
Yeah.
that is on the cover photo. If I jump to this shot
Yeah.
here, it is on the cover
I still
photo.
can't see your face.
There's
Yeah.
a Nick.
That's it. There's a reason for that.
Look at
Look at
that.
that receding hairline.
Look,
Beautiful.
he literally walked in off the street to do that.
I did. I really did. I don't know these people.
He didn't even know we were doing a podcast.
We became friends
was
over
there.
this podcast.
Right? Yeah.
It was nice to meet you.
They were.
We
They
need
just
a
said
third.
Star Wars, and I said
We need a third
Star
person, so
Wars.
we just invited a rando.
yeah,
on the
right. A
street.
rando.
Rando.
Come on, rando,
Rando.
Mando.
Commando.
No,
What were we
another
talking about?
I
a
don't
fellow
know.
Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Rise of
Known Nick for
Skywalker. We're
years.
back there. So
Yeah.
yeah,
But
it
what
was.
were we just talking about?
Oh yes,
Oh yeah, memes.
one of our favorites. Nick found this one.
It's so true
As if,
though.
Ryan Johnson
What,
directed
some-
A New Hope.
No.
No,
The end.
That's it. That's it.
He just throws
Because
the
in the
lightsaber.
original,
He's
it
like,
all
I don't
come-
need this.
It all started with "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi."
Yeah.
Yep.
Princess
No.
Leia, and if it's as if Ryan Johnson had,
Yeah.
said no to everything because Luke didn't want to. Luke didn't want to
Yeah.
help, or he basically
Yeah.
wrote it to where Luke was,
Right.
"I ain't gonna help you." Throws the lightsaber.
Yeah.
Right.
Again.
Oh, that's what we were
Again.
saying.
Ryan Johnson isn't a terrible filmmaker because he made probably one of the best looking as far as like cinematography.
Yeah,
He
definitely.
made some really good shot choices and definitely did a lot of things. So it's not all negative for Ryan Johnson, but as far as story goes and stuff like that, that's where I have the issues.
Yeah.
And I think, again, I've said this before, and I think, again, if, JJ should have just done the whole trilogy or at least oversaw the whole trilogy with his vision and kept
Yeah.
it going, which I think might have been originally
I don't know. what I'm doing here.
originally like I think that was the original agreement, and I think he
Yeah.
did have treatments for the whole thing, and I think they were supposed to follow it, but I think what happened was they got bored of it or something, and then they just people at
Expanded it.
Lucasfilm just kind of were like, let's just do our own thing,
Right.
which I think works if you're doing your own movie, and that's what I'm saying. Ryan
Yeah.
Johnson, if he did his own movie, not the original trilogy, or at least using those characters, I think
Right.
it would people would have accepted it a lot more.
Yep.
And that's why I think they're still somewhat on the fence with him doing,
The new trilogy.
but I don't think it's
or
going to
whatnot.
happen,
Yeah.
honestly, at this point.
Right. Yeah.
No, I think they were really excited, and it made a ton of money. Probably will end up making more money than the Rise of Skywalker.
Potentially.
But maybe part of the reason that Rise of Skywalker didn't make as much is because of what he did.
Yeah.
So it's,
Right,
hard,
yeah.
it's kind of a balance.
It left a bad taste in people's
It
mouths.
kind of, I think
Yeah.
it did. I didn't
not
dislike it,
everybody. Not everybody's. Not everybody
yeah.
disliked it.
and I didn't
Yeah.
dislike it as much as you guys. But from a filmmaking perspective, I think the bigger problem was the lack of direction for
Yeah,
the trilogy,
that's the biggest thing.
and that
Yeah.
paid the price. And because they gave him do whatever you want,
And there,
there's some price to be paid there because that's not what everybody wanted. That's what he wanted.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people got frustrated with that, including, I think JJ didn't get frustrated, but I think he just had to, he's like, that wasn't quite where I was
Yeah.
going. That's not, I wanted Luke in there. But, then other things happened, like Carrie Fisher's passing
yeah.
changed the outcome
But-
for the third chapter. But
Yep.
it's still,
But she was that was the best in this movie, Rise of Skywalker. She was the best in this movie out of all of the movies.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
the
no.
way that they used her in this movie too was fantastic.
Yeah, Allison said,
Right.
so disappointed in Luke's story in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Hashtag hero to zero.
Yep.
Yeah, that
It's-
pretty much describes this whole trilogy in
Yeah,
a lot of
pretty
ways.
Yeah, it kind of does. But
Every original trilogy.
I know.
except for
I know.
Lando.
Except for Lando.
Lando
Lando was
the boss.
handled correctly, and
Yeah.
so was Leia in this last one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But they missed the mark
But then,
with
yeah.
with
And they
Luke
had a lot of-
and Han.
And because, and even just like you said, planning the trilogy, they canned or went separate ways with the guy who was going to do the third one, Colin Trevorrow, who did Jurassic World.
Yep.
And so then JJ got brought back in.
And they fired him.
What was that, Colin Trevorrow?
yeah,
Yeah.
because
He was going to take it.
I think he was going to
He
try.
wasn't happy with what happened in Last
No,
Jedi, maybe.
it was creative differences.
Yeah, it
he wasn't
was.
happy with what Ryan Johnson did or what they did. It's basic. It's
It is
almost like
Lucasfilm.
Lucasfilm. Ryan
Right.
Johnson wrote that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, I think that's what it was. I think he was unhappy with the direction they went, and he couldn't agree with it because his story, I think, was lining up more with JJ's original outline.
Yeah.
Right.
And
yeah.
then whenever Ryan Johnson totally changed the game, wasn't it till after the backlash of Ryan Johnson's that JJ came back?
It was something
I
like
think
that.
So, yeah.
I think it was after the
I
movie
think-
came out.
I
I'm
think
not
they
100%
announced-
sure. We'll have to double
Yeah,
check
'cause
that,
who
fact
was-
check.
No, I
it.
think
Was
they
Ryan
announced.
Johnson going to do the
Well,
last one?
n-
Or who?
no.
Before Colin.
No, Colin Trevorrow was always slated to do the last movie.
Okay.
It was going to be JJ, Ryan Johnson, and Colin Trevorrow, as far as I can understand.
Yeah.
And then I went JJ. He did his thing. Sweet. Everybody liked
Did
it
his
for the most
thing.
part.
And
And then
there-
it was good. It was,
it was better
but
than.
it was
The Last
basically,
Jedi.
in a lot of ways, it was a carbon copy of A New Hope,
Yeah.
just with different characters.
Right.
Exactly.
And
That's
a
why I
woman.
It was a good movie. Just
But the biggest thing also for
original.
me was they missed the mark with Han Solo and they made him a
Yep.
garbage character,
Yep.
which retroactively and that annoyed me to no ends because it was like, here's reality in Star Wars. It was like, no, we don't watch Star Wars for reality.
Right,
We watch
yeah.
Star Wars for it's a hero's journey. It's
Right.
to inspire us to be better.
yeah.
It's to make us want to be the hero. That's what Star Wars is supposed to be about.
Right.
Not to depress us and tell you that you're going to be a hero for a little while, but when you get old, you're going to be a loser.
Or also your
You know, and you
childhood
can't
heroes
you
are
can't actually
worthless.
change. And that's kind of what the point got across about Han Solo was like,
Yeah.
you can't actually change.
Right.
You went right back to your old ways.
Yeah.
And you became a deadbeat
went right to
dad,
the
loser,
You were right.
and you just died. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, great.
And it was edgy, and it was pushing the envelope of what everybody thought was gonna
So
happen.
edgy.
Yeah.
So but in a way, it didn't quite work. I saw an article here, Slash Film, the same place we're gonna show her later. September 5th, 2017, word broke that Colin Trevorrow was leaving Star Wars Episode 9.
So when was it?
So September, that was
2017.
before Last Jedi came out. Is
Oh,
when
okay.
they parted ways with Trevorrow.
But
When
final
they were
cuts
when
of
they
the
were
movie.
final cutting the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by
Probably
September 12th,
whenever
a
he
week
saw
later,
it. Probably when he saw
Yeah,
it,
he was like,
honestly.
could have
Oh,
been.
gosh.
By a week later, JJ had the gig.
Okay.
So, but there was some controversy around his movie, The Book of Henry.
Yeah.
came out and
there
didn't do
was.
well.
It didn't do well.
I don't
And
even know
story.
what that is.
I didn't either, but
Yeah.
at the
Well-
time, everybody was looking. Eyes were on that one because he did the Lost or
he
Jurassic
did
World,
Jurassic World.
Jurassic
which was
World.
huge, and then he got
which
signed to do.
surprisingly was huge.
It just made so much money because of the
It made so
nostalgia
much
again. I
money.
think
Yeah.
that year that came out, the Star Wars episode.
Did he direct
9
the
came-
second
or
one?
7? No,
Okay, because
No.
the second one was
Oh.
garbage.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I haven't seen the
thinking
second
of
one.
Oh, sorry. I don't want to give too
No,
much
no,
away,
but
that's
another-
one that I wouldn't mind them going in a different direction.
Right, yeah.
right, yeah. So there's another piece
That's
of the
interesting.
puzzle. So
Yeah.
anyway, he came back, and a week later, JJ had the gig.
Yeah.
So they fell back. Right, but around that same time is when they canned the two guys that were doing Solo
Yep.
and brought in Ron Howard like a week later.
And
Like
that-
so they went back to something they were comfortable with.
Yeah.
So JJ, I don't think was right for the job. As we know, he doesn't finish things; he starts things.
Yep.
So it's a big ask to bring him back and be like, "All right, we know you started. Now put all these puzzle pieces in there and cap it off with like some frosting at the end and make it the best
Yeah.
ending to 9 movies ever." It's like
Yep.
never
Yeah,
gonna
I know.
happen.
That's
It's
why
never gonna happen. It's such an uphill
But
battle.
ultimately, for me, Rise of Skywalker, this movie is still better than the first two.
Yeah.
Even with all its flaws,
Yeah.
I like
would
this
agree.
one more
Yeah.
than the other two. As
Yeah.
surprising as that is, even though they missed the mark with a ton of stuff, There's a lot of plot things. But again, what I've been hearing with rumors and stuff like that is I've heard that there was I don't know how true this is. These are all rumors. But basically what I've heard is that during the making of or Rise of Skywalker, he actually got signed to Warner. JJ got, or his company did. Something happened, and
that's deep rumor stuff. But he did get signed to do Warner Brothers, so there was some people speculating that
and Disney and Lucasfilm actually were meddling a lot with this movie, and that's why people have been saying online, release the JJ cut, because apparently JJ did a lot of different stuff, and even got this is rumor again. This is all rumor, so take it with a grain of salt. But there was even one of his associates, one of the people said that. Hearsay said that even in one of the meetings, JJ's not really one to get mad, they said, but even in one of the meetings,
he was getting upset.
He yelled and said, why don't you just call this movie written by Lucasfilm? Or he actually said that or something like that, which is crazy to me. And he was, I guess he wasn't very happy with the end product because he wasn't able to do the final edit. They did the final edit. They're Disney and Lucasfilm. That's rumor. But there's a whole bunch of stuff there. I mean, and that's why a lot of people online are saying release the JJ cut. It honestly feels like a Batman v Superman move.
Yeah.
Because the Batman v Superman move was the original one was like, the short version was like under 3 hours, wasn't it? I forget. But it was 2 hours and 40 minutes or something. But then the Zack Snyder cut of Batman v Superman was over 3 hours. But it made a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But
I don't think they'll do
back
that.
And forth though. It still wasn't the best movie I've ever seen, Batman v Superman, and they did it backwards with that whole thing. We don't need to go into all that, but it feels kind of like that. I almost feel like if they release it, and that's another rumor I heard today was that they might actually release JJ's cut at the end of January to kind of do an Endgame thing.
Oh, add extra footage. They will do that.
So they make it over But the tricky thing about that for me is if it changes anything in the original one that came out, then they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot.
Right.
At this point,
what's the actual version?
Yeah, what's the actual version?
But at this point, they don't have anything to lose.
What's Legends?
All they're going to do is they're not going to show anything that changes the story or the canon. They're just going to add more like non-important scenes that he had to cut to try and get it into the time,
5% more lightning strikes.
Sometimes it's just
right.
Which I was thinking about that. You like that lightning, right? So he throws the lightning. That's what we did in our fan film. It was always what's his name that was shooting lightning. He shot it at the shield and it bounced and it went back and it took him out.
Yeah, it was.
I'm like, hey,
they watched our fan films. They just watched all our fan films. And they copied
that.
We have influenced The Mandalorian, The Rise of Skywalker.
We should do an editorial. We should do an editorial and be like, shot for shot. This is what they did.
All the similarities between our fan films and the new movies. And see what lines up and what came out before what.
We're so stuck on it.
No, it's all owned technically by Star Wars, so technically they can use it.
They did it, yeah.
Oh, maybe that's why.
It was still Star Wars licensing. That's why we can only make fan films.
That's why we can do fan films. And even then, you got to be careful.
Yeah.
But Allison did write earlier, I forgot about Bomb Solo.
Bomb Solo.
Yeah, it was the worst.
It did actually lose money.
Yeah.
But part of that, though, is because the
release.
The release was a huge part of that. Yeah, you're right. And they shot themselves in the foot because it was like right before or right after. It was like 2 weeks after Infinity War or something, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, what are you guys doing? Save it for December.
Yeah.
Another flaw, chink in Disney's, I think, planning armor. Greed maybe with Lucasfilm and the disparity. I think Disney owning Lucasfilm is good in the sense that, it's on Disney Plus and it's easier to view and all that. But I think for Lucasfilm's creativity, if they just had it all in-house and you know what I mean? They didn't sell to Disney.
Oh, yeah.
What would the Lucasfilm only trilogy have looked like?
Even if Lucas's version?
Even if Lucas was gone.
Oh, even if
But if it was Lucasfilm still, Lucas probably would be there.
Yeah.
But
honestly, what I think Lucas should have done, and it would have been smarter in some ways, I don't know, how he sold it to Disney should have been creative control still, George Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
I think he should have still had creative control. Maybe he tried for that, but they weren't coming to terms.
Right.
But what he really should have done was he should have really just been like, keep Lucasfilm and hire the directors he wants
Yeah.
with the story treatment he has, and just do it himself.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Just do it himself. Make the movies. The only thing that the challenge he's got, I think, was, well, Fox was still around, right?
Yeah.
20th Century Fox was still around.
Yep.
But maybe they didn't have like distributing rights and stuff.
Yeah, I don't think they did. I think Lucasfilm
Well, he
had that all
does, but-
figured out, but
But he still could have gone through 20th Century Fox.
yeah,
Right.
to distribute, yeah.
I think the reason he sold it to Disney was because he wanted his legacy to remain for
Mhm.
the long. It had the best, in a lot of ways, Disney has the best track record in keeping long-term like things. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I don't know how to explain that.
No,
but
you're right. And the 33% ticket sales in 2019 proves it.
yeah.
I mean, because they've built the Avengers property or
Yeah.
the Marvel property up since 2008,
Yep.
and they didn't. Although even when George Lucas was bought out, Jukas,
He juked us that
They
way.
were- they had a couple of
Jukas.
successful films, but they weren't. It was like after they bought Lucasfilm is when really Marvel really pedaled to the metal
That's true.
and started having
Yeah.
their big hits. But that's
Yeah.
because it took 5-6 years to kind of establish themselves and what they were doing, how Marvel had one guy kind of running the show creatively, and how that really
Mhm.
paid off.
Well,
So I
and he
think-
stuck to the source material,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he delivered the source material, but he was also able to pick the best
Yeah.
out of that source material.
Very much like Favreau's been doing with Mando.
Yeah.
And anytime Filoni's dives in,
And
you know.
honestly, if they would have done these, they could have made, I think, billions and billions more dollars on these three movies
Yeah.
if they would have just done it the right way.
Yep.
The problem I think with Lucasfilm too was that they hired all the new hot directors,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
they immediately had problems with all of them. They had
Yep.
problems with JJ. The only one they didn't have problems
'cause
with was
who
Ryan,
who does
and
that,
that
though?
was the most
Right.
controversial thing.
Disney does that. Disney they hire the biggest names
I know.
for their movies.
Yeah, but they didn't have. But they also they didn't have the people to oversee them.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
Oh, yeah.
because it's
Feige.
Disney, but they also had to go through Lucasfilm. Whereas like Disney Marvel is like Feige, and he had a good track record already, and he puts in place, and he is very hands on.
Yeah.
That's the difference too. I think Kathleen Kennedy is so far removed in some ways from the actual story.
Yeah, no, she doesn't see a trilogy as like I know where I want the story to go. Like as a
think
head of a
it's this.
a head of a studio,
Yeah.
she sees it film per film per film, and she's brilliant at getting this director to get
Yeah.
what they need to make the best film that they can, and this
Yeah.
director with Ryan Johnson, and then this director back with JJ because they had fun. That we don't have to go down a whole nother rabbit hole and try to bring somebody else back, and then it doesn't work out.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
But I think that was the disparity is like her trying to run the creative side and figure that out, which is not her cup of tea.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to do that probably because she doesn't want to step on George Lucas's legacy.
Well, she kind of did that. But
It's kind of awkward, yeah.
Yeah.
That whole thing. I wonder what her conversations with George look like.
oh my goodness, I don't even know. But there's been lots of
Shouting.
things
She,
online.
she probably just blames it all on
Toxic
Disney.
fan.
No, I
Right.
don't know.
Yeah.
But Disney, technically,
Toxic fans. That's what she
Yeah.
blames.
Toxic fans, yeah.
That's what they blame everything on now. Which is when you
Pretty
think about
much.
that, in a lot of ways, you're just like, what company blames their customers?
Right.
Like it's your fault.
the bad
Like,
ones.
that's-
It's your fault you ate
And
that.
that's why they're seeing diminishing returns. And that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing of this whole trilogy. The first one, nostalgia made that one fantastic. It was
Yeah.
a carbon copy, so
Yeah.
it was people liked it for the fact that they hadn't had that in a long time, and they were starving for it.
Yeah.
And then Episode 8 came out, the most controversial movie in the
So
Fan
edgy.
Wars, and it didn't get as much as the Rise or the Force Awakens
Right.
because again, it was diminishing returns, and then it
They
just
lost
split,
a lot of
and
the
then it just
original
split
fans.
the fan base in half.
yeah.
And then now we're seeing the Rise of Skywalker even lower than that. Granted, they're all making a ton of money, but still, if you keep going down this path,
Yep.
you're going to run it straight into the ground eventually. People are already starting to not care. Whenever Star Wars used to be, and even still, the original
Yeah.
trilogy is
Yeah.
is untouchable
Yeah.
as
Really
far
is.
as iconic, what it did for
Yeah.
everything. But anyway, we should probably get back to actually
right.
reviewing the film.
So let's
Rabbit
let's just jump into our favorite parts of the movie.
Okay, let's do it.
Because there was a lot of really cool moments, things that really were like, wow, that was cool.
Yeah.
So one thing I can think about that happens when they're on that planet after they fly now after that part,
Oh, yeah.
and they get sink into the sand. And some
Yeah.
of the convenience plot things there when she heals the snake
Yeah.
because it ties
You
right.
like that?
Well, she ties right to the Mando.
Yeah, that's true.
And that was cool because they're
And-
like something. They had been saying that something from Mandalorian might tie into the movie.
Yeah.
You didn't know what, and when you saw the
And he was
snake's
like, oh.
wound, you're like, oh, is she gonna heal that? Force heal it? Because we just saw Baby Yoda do it.
It's funny that Baby Yoda did it before she did.
That is interesting. Yeah.
And they made sure to release that episode before The Rise of Skywalker came out. I almost wonder sometimes if they did it in some ways. I don't think they were this smart about it, but maybe. Was because everybody loves Baby Yoda.
Yep.
And we can
Yeah.
accept that Baby Yoda can force heal. If we would have
Right.
just seen Rey force heal something out of nowhere,
It'd cause an uproar.
everybody might have been kind of not happy
It
about
might not
that.
have gone over as
But
well.
because we saw Baby Yoda do it, and we had in our minds tied to Baby Yoda healing,
Yeah.
then we were okay with Rey doing
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Right.
We're like,
In
oh,
a
this
lot-
is acceptable.
In a
Yeah.
lot of ways, we're like, oh yeah, we've
Right.
seen
Yeah,
that.
makes
Baby
sense.
Yoda's awesome.
Yeah. Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda. That's what
Anything to remind you of the Mandalorian,
Mandalorian.
show.
Yeah.
Which still, to me, the Mandalorian is still more popular than the Rise of
I would
Skywalker.
like to see the baby now.
Right?
Werner.
All be quiet.
I think it
Oh,
would have been
Werner.
smart if they would have somehow tied Baby Yoda
Into the
into the movie.
Yeah.
That would've been
The only
cool.
problem with that though is once you know where the character ends up, it's hard to have
Yeah, a series.
an
Yeah.
interest in that character.
It would
So you're
limit.
like,
It would
oh,
limit what
he's
they
gonna-
do.
Yeah.
Even knowing that he's still around,
Yep.
it limits them.
it kind of
Yeah.
takes
Yeah.
away the
You're like, oh wow, so he never
danger
dies.
element.
'Cause
Yeah.
How many times in the Mandalorian did he have like a blaster pointed right at his head at
Yeah.
the end of an episode? At least 3 or 4 times.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, his whole
almost
life
died
was
a
in
lot.
peril. But there's so many other funny memes. We'll get to those in a few minutes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So
I
that
li-
was your
I
favorite
like
scene
that.
though?
I don't say that my favorite scene, but
Well,
I
one
just
of
say
them,
that
one
was
One
a
of the favorites.
that was a positive thing because and then that led to some of the other stuff when they I don't know, he healed her, but actually when she healed Kylo on the water
Yeah.
in the water battle.
Yeah.
I didn't see
Yeah.
that coming.
Yeah, that was interesting. Again, she won, but that's a different story. But not really. She didn't. Actually, it looked like she was
No,
about to
she-
be defeated.
She lost, but then because Leia said
which was a cool way to use Leia. Yeah.
Right.
Was a cool way to use Leia.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I mean,
I accepted that a lot
the
more.
movie, as we've been talking about, it had these moments where it would accelerate, like on a roller coaster. It'd be like, whoa, and then a huge moment would happen. And you're like, wow, that was a huge moment in
And
a
it's just like,
film.
And it was just
"Whoa!"
right to the
and they
next
would
thing.
come back
What's going
right to
on?
another huge moment.
Yeah.
you
That was
know?
the feeling this whole movie. It was just like, I'm just going to slap you in the face with
Yeah.
like big shockers.
Yeah, because I mean, you see, the whole first opening act is the Emperor. You're
Yeah,
like,
right
at
off the
beginning.
bat.
So he's in the crawl, and then he's there like 2 minutes later in person, like a floating, like whatever.
was
Yeah, I
weird.
don't know. He had like
That was
weird
weird.
apparatus.
How'd you guys
Yeah.
feel about him coming back in general?
It didn't make any sense to me.
It would have helped
dude,
if
he
they
exploded
foreshadowed it. It would.
in The Return of the Jedi.
I know. I don't.
He's gone.
There and
Like,
they
how is
didn't
he
even.
back?
The problem too is they had like zero explanation.
No, they
they were
never
just
went
like
into
literally like, here you go, accept it,
it. Right.
accept it.
Force feeding us.
They just like
Please no.
you will like it.
Yeah, well, like it.
In some ways, I still didn't mind. At least it was the Emperor. At least it was
Yeah.
somebody that we had seen, and he is over the top, and that's what kind of makes him interesting.
Yeah, I mean, in a way,
And he said, "Do it." So I was
Do
okay
it.
with
Say
that.
do
was
it.
another- Do it.
it didn't completely make sense to me why he needed Kylo to do anything.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like, why do you need to get?
well,
I mean,
yeah.
I know Kylo was there, and that was just his way to get him out of his way at the moment. You know, he's like, well,
Yeah.
I'll use him to talk to the First Order and get their stuff too. But he
Yeah.
had this huge army of,
You know,
10
They
trillion.
could have
Yeah.
taken out the whole Force Order
Yeah, they could've
and
just-
taken over the whole
One
galaxy.
question
Right.
I had with that is, where did they all come from?
Yeah, I still wonder that.
I was like,
How do
they
they
just
build all
completely
those?
skipped over that
I don't know.
aspect. I was
There
like,
were there were
I was like,
several
he's
things.
got all these ships,
I mean, I guess if he'd been building them literally from
but where are all
Return of Jedi,
Sith, where are all
Return,
these Sith troopers staying?
I don't know.
Who's paying room and board? Huh?
There's that's
How many?
okay,
How
that's
many
my
planets have just tons of Sith troopers on?
Was he just controlling them with his mind?
Right.
Were there
Were they all-
people that were manning
Right.
each one of those ships? Or
Yeah.
at least know one of them
Yeah,
had
They're all
the
pretty
blood.
young.
It shows one.
they were all
General
pretty young,
Pride, yeah.
Yeah, General Pride.
but
Oh yeah.
for the
Hey, look,
most
it's
part.
a YouTube comment.
We got a YouTube comment. Yeah, let's see what happens.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, one.
I'll say what I was gonna say after that.
Yeah.
So we said, what was your favorite Rise of Skywalker part? Alisan said, I kind of wish they would make the Force healing exclusive to only Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
My favorite scene in the Rise of Skywalker was the part where the Jedi talked to Rey.
Yeah, that was cool.
Good call.
I thought that was cool.
Good call,
and they
Alisan.
took- It was like a lot from the movies and also the shows.
Yeah, they used like every
Yeah.
Star Wars character that you liked.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen the Easter egg one that Sunday Movies did. I still
What
haven't seen
Easter
that.
egg one?
All the Easter eggs.
Oh, yeah.
All the voices and all
Those
the
are good. Yeah, I think I know who they all
breakdown.
are, but
Yeah. A lot of them from Rebels
Yeah, there's
and
some from-
Clone Wars.
some from
Yep.
Rebels. Some I think Ahsoka was in there. What's his name from Rebels?
Kanan Jarrus.
was in it, yeah.
Ezra, I don't
But
think was there.
I also heard rumor that they actually filmed all those people, and that was one of the
Mm.
things that got cut.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that
It's
they
like
actually
were all Force
Yeah.
ghosts?
that they were all Force ghosts
Oh,
there.
that would've
That they
been
actually
cool.
had footage of them
That-
all,
Wow.
and that was
I
one of the
wanted to
things.
see.
That's what I wanted to see, and that's one of the things in
Yeah.
that rumor I heard about today
Yeah.
that they might be releasing
Ooh,
that version
that'd be nice.
with
Will they
that
have, like-
has all of them in
Will
it.
they have a fight with the Palpatine?
And that's what I heard that they might all fight in
That
that,
would be
too or
awesome.
something. I think I'm
Wow.
not 100% sure on that, or if
Please
they
do
just show
that.
up to help at
Whoever's
least with like
watching this,
force
Yeah.
power. To they might just stand behind her and do like,
right?
which
That would be
basically
cool.
turns Star Wars into Avatar: The Last Airbender,
Yeah.
which I didn't really like.
Hey, man, the Fire Nation attack.
That changed,
Remember?
that
Mandalorian.
changed everything.
Mandalorian changed everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what was I
Okay.
don't think that was my favorite part, but highlights of the movie. That was an interesting thing. Definitely
You mean the force healing?
the Force healing.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what you're
The
talking
Force healing. What I
Going back
thought
to
was
that.
it was
See-
cool to see after seeing it in
I-
Mandalorian.
Me-
Yeah.
I watched that before the Mandalorian,
You didn't like
and
it.
I like the Mandalorian. I don't like. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
It-
I'm back and forth.
It
doesn't make-
changed the plot though because
What are
now
the
people
rules?
are right.
That's the
There's
problem.
no
That's another problem.
consequences
It's
for
like-
anything.
it's like
Oh,
Marvel.
I killed you.
But it's like
come back to
Marvel.
life.
Marvel, like everybody dies, but then they don't die.
But
Yeah.
nobody died.
They always
yeah.
come back. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Gandalf died, and he
They
came
have
back.
done the Marvel approach in a lot of ways.
So
the only people that actually
it changed
die
the
are the
rules.
people that you don't want to die in the series, like
Right.
Han
Yeah.
Solo and
Right.
Luke Skywalker.
Why couldn't they heal him quickly?
Yeah.
what do
Quickly.
you guys think about the Han Solo scene in this one?
It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot better
Once
than
again, I was like, what are the rules here?
I know.
Yeah.
I
I
get-
don't
It
know
was-
what's going on.
I thought I actually really liked that.
I
like-
liked
I
the,
like
the 180.
Yeah,
I like the aspect of the
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah,
Yeah, me too.
it was
It
a
did-
nicely
but
done
you're right. It's
scene.
like, is he
But
a
it
Force
was
ghost?
like,
is he
Is
alive?
he a memory?
it was.
yeah.
Is he?
I've heard it explained that he was a memory because he even kind of says that he's like, "You're
Right.
not real, you're dead."
You're
He's
not
like,
real.
"Not." He said something about "I'm in your memory," or "This is just a memory," or
This is-
something like that.
Maybe
But it was also they said that it was Princess Leia
casting that.
kind of
Yeah.
pulling that from
Yeah, but why
Ben's
isn't he a
mind
Force
for
ghost?
that too. Han Solo because he didn't have the Force.
No, she's
Why?
like projecting that,
That was the only
almost.
thing.
As far as we know,
As
he
far
didn't
as
have the
we know,
Force.
I mean, I thought it would have been interesting if Han Solo actually did have the Force and he
Right.
just never knew it.
Yeah, but it
He
was
was
like
just
she
like,
was
"Oh, my pistol
projecting
burns
his
like a lightsaber."
because she kind of like whatever. She reached out to him through the Force
Yeah.
when she said
Yeah.
Ben, which made him stop because he was owning Leia. That was one of my favorite parts. I did like
They-
that
you
battle.
mean,
Or Ray.
Ray.
I like
He
the
was
flips
owning
and all
Leia.
that was pretty cool, but it was a pretty good battle, and I liked
Yeah.
seeing Kylo like he started winning, and you're like, wow, this is intense.
Except for some of the scenes in that were
They
like they
seemed
were,
like they were just going
as
through the
for a
motions.
It wasn't-
choreography
it wasn't the
standpoint,
best,
some
right.
parts. Some of that fight scene though was epic.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Although again, it was kind of like, what are the rules?
Yeah, I
they
know.
started turning it. Literally, this movie
They
started
gra-
turning
you know,
into
the Force grab.
yeah,
and
the Force.
stop.
The Force Unleashed is what this
Yeah.
game felt like.
Yep.
The movie. This movie felt like
This
yeah,
movie
it
felt.
like
This
a video
movie
game.
felt like the
This movie
game,
felt like
the
the-
Force Unleashed, where
the
it was
game.
like there are no rules.
Right.
Yeah.
like in the Force Unleashed, he literally grabs a Star Destroyer
and pulls it out of the sky.
and pulls it out of the sky.
which I thought was sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it pulls it out of the sky, which was
Sorry.
awesome. I mean, he didn't like pull it down. I mean, he did.
He force pulled.
He
Yeah.
force pulled a Star
Yeah.
Destroyer out of the sky, and even the actor was like, "These are kind of just tales." Like, it's not like he actually did it. He had like even the
Yeah.
actor who portrayed him was kind of explaining how that's not really possible, but
Right. Yeah.
it was fantasized in some ways. But in this movie, it was like, yeah, you can do that.
Right.
You can
Yeah.
grab a ship out of midair using the Force. You
Yeah.
can do a jump that's like 40 feet high or
Right.
away and do a super.
In a way, that was
Hero
kind of all
landing.
the fan servicey stuff that people
Yeah.
were talking about. That you're like, wow, well, it's definitely been done, so it's on the table because it's been on the table in the games and the different things. and
Yeah.
maybe some of the expanded universe, maybe
Yeah, in
Yeah.
some
different canon things,
but with that-
communicating to an animal like Ezra
Yeah.
did that in
Mhm.
Rebels, and
I mean,
But
there's
see-
been a lot established, but in the
movie
EU,
world,
but,
it's
but,
always-
But then they never really did that kind of healing though
No.
in any other form,
Nope.
and that's what does.
except did he do any kind of not healing in Rebels? I don't think he did
If
any
anything
healing.
ever really does any healing, I feel like it's almost like a forced entity, like
right.
type situation, like on the planet. I forget which planet they were on. The son and the daughter and stuff like that, because I think like
Oh,
Ahsoka
yeah, yeah.
dies there, but they
Yeah.
bring her back to life type situation. But again, that's like force entity type
Right.
stuff, which I guess in some ways they are. They're like what's the word that they used in this movie for both of them?
A diadem,
Or
something
A
like
dyad.
dyad in the
yeah,
force
Yeah.
or
Like
something
a
like that.
diode is a electric thing, but like a dyad.
Dyad, but they were like two. That
Two,
like, it was
yeah.
kind of like
two sides of the same coin.
like
Yeah.
yin yang type
Yin-
stuff
yin
there.
and yang.
Just
Mhm.
weird, but
Yeah.
anyway,
New age.
yeah, you know, it was kind of weird some of that stuff, but I don't know where I was going with that.
Right, yeah.
But it was like that. The rules really were like,
Yeah.
what were the rules?
Well, yeah, and
there
it's
were no
just-
rules.
It's
Give every ship a start. Give
Yeah.
every ship
A
a
Death
planet
Star.
killer.
Yeah.
just
Do this,
introduced
do that.
it
The
in
Palpatine's back.
Right.
He can shoot a giant bolt of lightning
Yeah.
and take out every ship.
That's how he
What?
did it. Radio
What?
waves, man.
Yeah.
Why didn't he do that in episode
Right.
6
Yeah.
then? He
Yeah,
could have
that's
won the
true.
whole thing.
Yeah.
And they just like shoved all this stuff into the movie in such an outlandish way that it was hilarious to watch.
I was
'Cause
laughing.
I was laughing too. I was
Yeah.
like,
It
this
was still
is just
good,
too
but
good.
yeah, it was. I'm not good.
So what was
Uh,
your guys' favorite part? Do you have a favorite part?
Gosh.
It's
Favorite-
hard. It's hard because there's a lot
I
of
would
moments.
say favorite parts
yeah.
are C-3PO
Yeah.
and Babu Frick. Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
yes, that.
They can't. Yeah,
They kinda won the
used
movie.
C-3PO as comic relief, and it was perfect.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah. 3PO's.
There was
You're
just-
right. The
there
way they
was so
played
much.
3PO was brilliant.
And then they introduced him. I was like, I saw him and I was like, okay, this is gonna be dumb. And he was just hilarious.
Yeah.
Hey!
Hey!
Oh.
Hey!
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he did.
He just like
You gotta get the-
when he pops up in the ship later on.
That made me laugh so hard. I was like, yes.
right.
Yeah.
And then the whole
Babu.
the whole scene with him and C-3PO and now
wipes his mind.
wipes. He's like the droid ready or something. And
The
he,
droid is ready.
yeah. and then he like destroys, and then he does the Sith eyes and the Sith talking, and then C-3PO falls back. And then that's whenever he's like, "Hey, it worked!
It worked!" And then he's
so
like,
funny.
then he wakes back up and he doesn't remember anybody.
Yeah.
And Babu introduces
He's
himself.
like,
I, Babu Frick.
He's like,
Yeah.
hello, Babu.
He's like, oh, hello, Babu.
yeah. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, Babu
And
Frick,
then-
he's one of my oldest friends.
Reference it later. He's like,
one of my
oh, he's
oldest
one of my
friends."
oldest friends.
And then, yeah, the scene with C-3PO too when they fall into that pit. And, like, some of that is so funny. It's
Yeah.
just comedy gold. Comedy gold,
Right?
C-3PO.
Comedy gold,
he's
yeah.
Oh, man.
Metal. Is it
But
gold?
anyway, you know,
Yeah.
so he
He's
falls
like-
down and then, yeah.
Is this the afterlife? Are we? Are
Am I-
droids allowed to be
Am I
here?
even allowed to be here? That was a classic
I missed that
line.
the first time.
And
yeah.
he,
I know you didn't say my name, but I'm okay.
yeah, that was great. That was almost reminiscent of K2SO in some ways.
yeah, you're right.
He was almost reminiscent of that.
That was me.
Yeah.
That wasn't me.
That was just, he was
Yeah.
good. He's
Yeah.
good.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a
That
few
was-
just peppered in here and there. And actually, that's the one thing I want to say about this movie. The comedy in this movie actually worked
Mhm.
for
A
me.
lot of humor. Yeah.
a
that
lot of it
worked.
worked. It didn't come across as
It
too.
wasn't forced.
Yeah.
Forced.
Yeah.
Forced.
Episode 8,
Wow.
episode 8, the comedy did not work for me. I
No.
mean, almost none
Fell
of it
flat.
fell.
Yeah.
Almost all of it fell flat. And this one, for some reason, I don't
Yeah.
know why, but maybe it's just because I was already laughing.
So funny.
But
Yeah.
but the character dynamics with Poe, he actually worked as more of like a Han Solo type character, and that worked how they played him.
Yep.
And
His
he was
dynamic with
likable in this
Poe-
one.
Yeah, him and Poe did had a
Finn
lot
and
of
Poe-
good lines.
Finn-
Back to
oh,
like
sorry, I meant Poe. Did I say
No,
Finn?
I don't know. You said Poe.
You said
Oh, okay, yeah.
No, I
I
just meant
I
Finn
like
and
Poe and Finn, and
Yeah,
when
the
all three of them were
dynamic there.
together, you
Yeah.
know, all of them
Yeah.
were together. It really worked,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it did.
and that's why I wish they would have done that in 8. You
Yeah.
know,
Probably should have continued that in 8. Yeah.
it would have been so much more fun, and split them up at the end, kind of like in Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and So sorry, you were saying though about your favorite parts.
No, yeah, that was it.
That was it. Okay.
C-3PO and Babu Frick.
They really did steal the movie in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
That was probably
It was
what I remember
hilarious.
almost the most as part of the funniest
Yeah.
lines. My favorite part of this, I think though, really favorite part of the movie though was they had a lot more respect for the characters, and the comedy worked, and they played.
Yeah.
They had the three main ones together.
Yeah.
And it gave you a lot more of what you actually wanted to see versus like disappointment, which actually kind of in the end it was a little disappointing in some ways, and that's kind of why I didn't really love it. But there's a lot there. Like it felt more like a Star Wars movie throughout most of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like. A lot of the time it's just like what feels like a Star Wars movie and what doesn't feel like a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Solo
That's
I don't
why-
think
yeah.
is the best movie made as far as it goes, but I think it was the most Star Wars feeling movie
Yeah.
versus the rest that had been made. Rogue One was unique on its own, and that's why it's really good too,
Mhm.
because it's just something different. Again, it didn't feel like a Star Wars movie in a lot of ways, just for the fact that it was so dark. It just didn't feel like
Right.
that classic Star Wars, but that was okay because that was what that movie was going for, and I still really liked that movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they didn't give you anybody to hold on to at the end other than Princess Leia. But it worked so well seamlessly into the next movie
When
that
Vader
it really
shows
worked.
up at the
and
end.
that was
yeah.
epic.
Yeah.
That was
third
epic.
act of that movie is
But
like,
that movie
wow.
is the most Star Wars looking movie.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when they made that movie, I was like, that is every world, every place you visit is so Star Wars looking. I
Yep.
was just like,
So you
that's
could say-
amazing.
So Rogue One is the most Star Wars looking.
Yeah.
Solo is the most Star Wars feeling.
Yeah.
And then Rise of Skywalker is there
It's
with the
more-
comedy,
More there
The
with the
most
comedy and the classic feel.
Star Wars
Somewhat
comedic.
more of the classic
classic comedy, comedic,
Yeah.
lighthearted feel.
of
Yeah.
the
Okay.
original trilogy, I would say.
So
Yeah.
then what would you say Last Jedi?
A disappointment.
It was the least Star
the
Wars
most
feeling.
Okay, the best thing about the episode 8 was it was the best looking as in terms of cinematography.
And I think it might be still my favorite score,
And yeah, that's
moments.
true. Sound they did
sound
you
and
can-
and music in the
Holy cow.
Last Jedi Last Jedi.
Rise, he did such a good job. The second time I
Yeah.
was really paying attention to it.
Yeah,
Blending in all of the different themes.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy
I know,
how well
right?
he did that.
Yeah,
Just listen
I
to
mean,
it.
that is the wins. I mean, I almost want to. I would rather just listen to the score almost.
yeah.
Right.
Well, they have that on The Force Awakens, or maybe it's The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi. If you own it, you can watch, and
I
they
do
may
not.
have it on
I do
Disney
not.
Plus. But hey,
that is
bonus,
the only Star Wars movie I do not
bonus,
own.
you can watch it without dialogue. It's just the score. You can watch The Last Jedi with just the score.
Oh,
So
nice.
Watch the images and just listen to the music.
Wow.
It's
Cool.
pretty cool.
That's probably a good way to watch that movie.
It
Right.
might be the imagery and all that.
Oh, and also going back, sorry, to talking of episode 8, the scene, there's a scene where they're talking about, let's just pull a Holdo maneuver.
Oh yeah.
And they were like, that's 1 in a million shots.
right.
Retroactively kind of retconning that scene
Yeah.
because everybody was like, okay, well, why don't you just shoot a Star Destroyer into the Death Star?
the Death
And we
Star,
could have
yeah.
won.
Yeah.
Easy. Nobody could have lost their lives.
Right.
So I get it. So they were trying to like retroactively be like, oh no, it's just a 1 in a million shot. You can't do it for everything. But there's scenes in this one where I'm like, well, and like the Force healing, so nobody
Yeah, yeah,
dies
yeah.
Yep.
except for he does. But that was kind of
Oh my
goofy.
gosh, that was funny.
You
Yeah,
talking about
that's funny.
Kylo?
He totally called it too.
Yeah.
At the end, you're like, he's
Yeah.
gone. Yeah.
He's
Well, they
like,
couldn't, story-wise, they couldn't keep him
I
around
know.
right.
without and make everybody happy.
There's so many.
'Cause
I
he's a-
thought he could have stayed around.
I mean, I liked
At
his
that
character
point,
at the end.
At-
I'm
he
like,
was the most likable
Yeah.
for
I was
the
like,
whole
yes!
trilogy. Whenever he
they
became
give you
Ben
the
Solo.
They give that was one of my favorite parts of the whole film was when he became Ben,
yeah.
Yep.
and he was so cool, and he had one line, and he was like, "Ouch," or "Ugh," when he hit the chains or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But he was so cool. He reminded me of like an Indiana Jones,
Yes,
a Luke
he did.
Skywalker,
Yeah.
Han
could
Solo.
After seeing him like that, he could play like an Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
as crazy as that sounds, I could see him playing Indiana Jones.
Mhm.
Not Indiana Jones, but like Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
like son or grandson or something.
yeah. When that happened,
That
and
would
then
work.
the team up with them, they didn't have much to do, but
Right.
it just worked. It felt the dynamic.
He was
worked between the two
likable.
of them. Yeah,
He was so much more likable, and that's the thing. Kylo's been like the most interesting character.
yeah.
But those like last couple seconds, or whatever minutes,
Yeah.
I was like, yes,
Yeah.
this is the Jedi I want.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the new Jedi I want. Give me him and let me have some more movies with him.
Right.
No, we
They could have stayed together maybe and
That's
we go to a
I
gone
almost-
and hid on another
I
planet.
almost wonder if Episode 8, if JJ wouldn't have directed it, if he wouldn't turn Kylo sooner.
right.
Like
Yeah.
it would have ended Episode 8 where like Rey was battling with the dark side, and then Kylo would have become the light, and then the last one he has to come back and save her.
Yeah.
That would have been more interesting as
Yeah.
far as the story goes and stuff like that. But yeah, I liked him. I can't believe. And then I mean, I understood why they killed him off. Yeah, they had to kill him off because he killed Han Solo. Han Solo
Yeah.
was a deadbeat dad
Well,
anyway. But
and JJ made him kill Han Solo. But I
know.
think
Yeah.
what's his name that played Harrison Ford made JJ kill Han Solo.
Yeah,
yeah,
he was
in some
please.
ways,
He's like,
because he
please
wanted.
end me. I don't want to come
do
back.
this anymore.
He technically,
Yeah.
well, he did. He came back.
yeah, he did.
But then he did come back. So then JJ's like, aha, I got you.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
kill him.
Almost, but I almost wonder at that
Yes.
point.
In that scene, they were playing it the same way he was on the bridge,
Yeah.
and he had the lightsaber
I was like,
again.
oh no,
They're
he's
not
gonna
do it again.
Yeah.
He's not
Don't
gonna
do it
stab him
again.
again.
Doubles down on it as his memory.
Horrible.
Oh, man.
I would have
That's so
audibly
bad.
been like,
I
no!
wonder, though, if they had written, maybe JJ had that vision, maybe even Trevorrow had that vision, but it was supposed to be Leia, because it did
Could've
say
been.
story
Yeah.
by Colin Trevorrow in the credits, part of the story or
Oh, did
something.
it?
He had a
Well,
credit
that
in there
lead-
for the
that-
story.
That gives a little bit more credence to the fact that he was following more JJ's
Could've
original
been.
outline.
Yeah, it could have been, because that twist would have been cool, and they probably would have used Leia in a different way in the third one. And if she was the one that actually had that conversation, how much more impactful that would be.
Yeah.
It's like, you killed your
it would've
dad. Are you
been.
going to kill me and say the same
And
thing?
they kind of did that, but they couldn't fully for the fact that she was already gone.
Yeah, but they
Yeah.
kind of so that's why I think they weren't able to really explain
Yeah.
why it was him, other than maybe she was projecting the image of him because she had already reached out through the Force, and
Mm-hmm.
Right.
yeah, that whole sequence was pretty interesting. What did you think about the dual bladed saber with when she went to
Oh,
the Death
right.
Star?
Yeah, I mean, everybody called
Yeah.
it. The first
Force vision.
Yeah, everybody
Yeah,
was
it's a
like,
Force
it's a Force
vision.
vision. It's something.
Yeah.
It's only going to be
Yeah.
there for a second.
I was
and it
surprised that
literally
they
was.
showed that in the trailer.
I know.
I think
it was-
know,
the
it was
first
like-
trailer,
It was
I
like,
think. Or
I
second
kind
trailer.
of think
do
that
that.
backlashed in
Yeah.
some ways. I
Yeah.
honestly feel like that almost
Yeah.
it got some interest going, but for how little it was in the movie, it felt like a Captain Phasma moment. You know, like
Yeah.
they
it's like, oh,
hyped
this is a cool
Phasma
idea,
up,
but we're gonna throw it away.
and then like literally it was like 2 seconds.
I
It's
think
like
it's
if they would have
JJ
shown
throwing you off the trail. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna make you think that
her
it's
going
not-
dark at the end.
Yeah, it's gonna
Right.
be her going dark and maybe Ben coming back.
But
or,
the thing is, everybody on the planet knew that she wasn't going to go dark.
Right.
no, right? Yeah.
Everybody was like, "Okay, yeah, that's funny."
She had an opportunity in 8 opportunities. She saw the dark
They
side. You
can't
know.
do it at this
Ben
point.
kept pressuring her in this one. Up
Although it
until
would
that
have been
point.
more interesting if she would have gone dark and became Palpatine, and then
Yeah.
Kylo would have been alive, and they would have left it that way. I would have liked that ending
Yeah.
more so
Oh,
than the way
yeah.
that they ended it.
Wait. Speaking of which, the
Uh.
whole she had to kill Palpatine and he would have
Right.
hurt his. How did how
No,
is
yeah,
it?
I
Like,
know what you're
he,
saying.
he would have
He's
gone
like,
into
so-
her. Or
So
something?
basically, like I said, it basically became Avatar: The Last Airbender,
Yeah.
whereas like you're basically all previous avatars live in you.
Yeah.
It basically became that show, and so all the Sith apparently lived in Palpatine, and so if she killed him and became a Sith, she would become even more powerful because then he would live in her because
Yeah.
she's also a Palpatine, and boom.
Yeah.
There
But
you
then
go.
Kylo
but
shows up.
she
and,
said she's like, I'm not gonna kill you then,
right.
and then what
And then
happens?
Kylo shows up and they kill him.
And then she kills him.
She kills him.
So-
Yeah,
And it's like,
But technically,
wait a minute.
she did what she
What are
said
the-
she wasn't gonna do.
What are the rules?
What are the
Yeah.
rules
What's
here?
going on
You
here?
did
she-
exact
she,
opposite.
She killed him with his own Force lightning, so maybe it was some kind of a self-destruct.
Hey, joke's on you. You killed yourself.
And it was with all the Jedi.
But how did
so
he
it was
get-
the good side.
Right, it was all the Jedi. So she didn't do it.
understand,
She
but
was
it's still,
down
it's
for the
like-
count, but all the Jedi helped her.
I think JJ
That's why
was just
Kylo
running
shoulda
out of
killed him.
Why
ideas.
was it called the Rise of
Kylo should
Skywalker?
have killed him
Oh, because she says she's a Skywalker at the end.
at the end.
That-
And
it's
and
the
Kylo
dumbest.
Because Kylo climbed out of the
Solo
hole.
climbed out of the hole.
That's
That's,
what I
why.
mean.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know. Is
Yeah,
it
we had a
what
whole
what
Romeo
was
and
the
Juliet
rise?
movie or moment?
It made no sense.
That's
I think
what
it
I mean.
literally was just Rey saying
was
she's a Skywalker at the end, which I didn't like.
And then
Maybe
she
honestly,
had
that
at
was
all.
Trevorrow's
yellow
original
lightsaber.
title.
Yeah.
I don't know.
She has a yellow lightsaber.
Yellow
and you're like, what are you going
lightsaber.
to do with that? The series is over.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for building your own
Why didn't
lightsaber
you,
off
like,
screen and
well,
bringing it
yeah,
at the very, very
exactly.
end.
Why didn't you just like introduce that at the beginning of this film? That
Yeah.
would have been a lot cooler.
It would've.
So you know who wrote this movie though with JJ, the guy who wrote Batman v Superman
Oh, it was.
and
really?
Justice League.
Really?
That makes sense in a lot of ways.
When you were talking about that earlier, I meant to say that, but yeah,
Oh,
the guy who
I
wrote
did not
Batman v
know that.
Superman
That's
and
why
Justice
it feels,
League.
That's why it feels like that.
And
in
he
some
wrote,
ways.
Yeah.
and the reason that everybody's like, "Oh my goodness, those movies were awful." He wrote Argo, I guess, for Ben Affleck,
Yeah.
and then he won an Oscar for it. So he's an Oscar award-winning writer.
But that doesn't mean you're going to strike gold every time.
And
I didn't
Star
think Argo
Wars,
was that bad,
in
actually.
Star Wars, it changes, but I like Batman v
I
Superman.
didn't see Argo. I need to
That's
see
pretty
that one.
good.
I need to see that one.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but anyway, Batman v Superman, Justice League, But I was listening to somebody talk about it.
I like Justice League more.
He
than
did the
Batman v
same
Superman.
thing in Justice League as Batman v Superman. They just went into the next movie and they didn't explain.
Yeah.
Like, why is Superman like,
Yeah.
they didn't really explain it. They just
No.
jumped
Well, yeah,
right
'cause
into
they
it.
think like visual effects and action is
Visual noise.
Cool.
overcast the
Yeah,
story.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of what it feels
That's
like.
part of the problem.
Yeah.
They don't develop the story enough. They just give you a bunch of
They're
eye
just like,
candy.
oh, this is cool. You should like this.
Just make
Yeah,
this
but
happen.
what's going on? It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Look at this.
Yeah,
That's
right.
part of it, and that is part of the. That's one of the biggest problems this whole trilogy is. So the original trilogy, when you looked at the original trilogy, the more you looked at it, the more you thought about it, the more interesting it actually got.
Yeah.
And actually things tied together even more, and there was so much more you could think about. In this trilogy, the Disney trilogy, the more you look at it and the more you think about it, the more it falls apart, and the
Yeah.
more it like
The more loopholes. you
Gaping
It
find.
hole.
starts
holes
to
it has in
undo
it.
some things. And that's what I know Steph was saying is that when you had episode 4, 5, and 6, and then the prequels, you didn't like the prequels, but you had 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
well, and the
And that didn't, and then you had your own, besides the EU and the books of what
Yeah.
what was going to happen in the
Mhm.
Yeah.
future. So then in your own head canon, you could say, "Oh yeah, Luke Luke was an amazing Jedi forever and just owned the
Right.
galaxy."
yeah.
And now they're kind of like explaining all of what happened afterwards. And now that not everybody's in love with it, it's kind of this
Yeah.
weird feeling of like, oh, maybe all that work in the original trilogy was a waste because Palpatine came back anyway.
I know. Well,
Right.
and that's why I think people are really not gelling or
Yeah.
not liking. I almost said gelling.
They're not gelling.
Liking
gelling.
this trilogy because it retroactively affects the original trilogy
Yeah.
to a negative way in a
be
lot of
pansy.
ways, which I think
What
is
about-
part of what people didn't like about the prequels as well, because in some
It's-
ways it made
Anakin.
it made Darth Vader a little less intimidating.
Yeah.
Right.
But for
He's just a
me, it hit me
crybaby.
at the right time. The prequels for me,
crybaby.
yeah, I know. The prequels for
Sand.
me was execution.
Rough.
It gets everywhere.
Well, you said
The
that.
prequels is
That whole scene was
execution,
weird.
Yeah.
but the story is there. The story is there for the prequels,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. The story really works if you
Yeah.
were to like read them as a story instead of seeing the kind of not great acting through
Yeah.
it all. But other than Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and
Oh yeah, Obi-Wan.
Sam
was
Jackson
spot
and
on.
Yoda, I liked actually Sheev Palpatine was actually really good in the prequels
Yeah, he was.
too.
Except he got lightning in the
interesting.
face in that prequel. Too.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
He
But it was
didn't learn.
interesting.
Let 'em
But the
kill
story was
me.
there for the prequels, and that's why people are like, when they look at this trilogy, they're kind of like, yeah. So the execution, it looks good. It's the opposite end of the spectrum. It's like the original trilogy really nails everything, and then the prequels kind of miss the execution, as far as like making it all like work really well, acting really great, stuff like that as far as directing goes. But the story's there, and then this one there's no story. The story sucks, but it looks great.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what
Action,
I mean?
people. Action.
I mean, the prequels
Exactly.
still
Yeah, but I
look
need-
good because it was
I need
revolutionary.
sustenance.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the sustenance.
Right,
It's all
yeah.
fluff.
It's fluff, and
We
they're trying
got-
to explain everything in books and comics and other besides the fact, which
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
really
what I
work.
heard, like, to understand this movie, you had to like know
Yeah.
a lot of backstory
If
and
you-
other things.
Yeah.
and even by what your premise, Dan, was like to watch a movie if you can watch the scene
Right.
without any sound or anything
Yeah.
like that and understand it. I mean, that's if you have to explain if the movie makes sense
Yeah.
by reading 30 other books,
Right.
or
Yeah.
5 other books.
Yeah.
That's the only way it makes sense.
You're
That's not a
it's
good
not
movie.
A good movie.
Right. We had a funny meme that Nick found
Oh yeah.
The face you make when you're chilling as a Force ghost and watch some random Mandalorian visit Tatooine, get away with spending Imperial credits, have peaceful negotiations with sand people, sleep on the sand, defeat someone that has the high ground, and save a youngling.
It's just all.
It's all offensive because none of those things work for him.
Oh, man. There's been so many amazing Mando.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't know why I jumped to that, but we were talking about Anakin, so it reminded me of this.
Yeah, so
There's been
funny.
so
That
many
was a good
amazing
meme.
ones, but they...
Oh, and
don't know if
the guy who played the sand guy in that episode, he was the Tusken Raider who signed. He was actually deaf. He was
Oh, really?
Oh,
yeah,
really?
yeah. So it was kind of interesting they got somebody to sign it.
Yeah.
Kind of like what they did for A Quiet Place.
Quiet Place.
They actually had a deaf girl play that, which is really interesting.
Are they going to do that in A Quiet Place 2?
They're
no,
doing A
Quiet
Quiet
Place
Place
2 is a prequel?
Is it?
I think so.
Is it?
Oh, I didn't know that.
It might not be. I might be lying. I thought they had a trailer.
Yeah, they do. I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't
though.
either.
Okay,
I like
so
that
here's
movie.
the thing
But anyway,
about-
back to
It's
Star
intense.
Wars.
One you don't want to watch at night.
Yeah, no.
I'm
yeah.
just gonna touch on prequels here.
Do it.
Why do they keep doing that?
Touch.
You know, they're like, oh, it's A Quiet Place, and I mean, if it is a prequel, A Quiet Place 2 is a prequel. It's like, why
Oh,
don't you just do it in order? Like,
yeah.
Why do you always got to go back?
I think a lot of the times why they do that is because typically you well, not always, but sometimes the characters that really like draw the audience or were interesting you can't make a sequel because they're not there anymore.
Right.
So what you do instead is you go back in time where they are there
Yeah.
to try and draw more of an audience.
Yeah. What I'm saying is it's just a little cliche nowadays.
The problem-
because
yeah.
everybody does it.
I know. The problem with prequels for me is if you know where somebody ends up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it really, again, we were talking about it earlier, it really takes away from that movie all on its own because it's
Because it's
you
like,
know where they end up.
Right.
It really takes away a lot of the
Unless you can
mystery,
focus
the-
on a separate character altogether,
Right.
and then at the very last second, something hooks to the new one. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Right.
Like, but you're right. If there's this, it's the same character, but they're just younger. You know, it's interesting to see backstory, but you're right. It's
Yeah.
kind of
It's just cliched.
And that's why I
Yeah.
think Solo fell flat in a lot of ways
Yeah.
too. Because again, it was a prequel and they didn't nail that prequel in a lot of ways. Well, and there was a lot of behind the scenes drama and all that garbage. And they
Right.
basically had a checklist of things that they wanted to show you, but just felt
Oh.
forced.
Zarhimoto. Hey, Zarhimoto.
Hey!
Some info on Quiet Place 2. We talk about all things.
Yeah.
It has prequel parts, but it is a sequel.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
so that's
It
cool.
has like flashbacks.
That's cool.
And then Zara, said, "Hey guys."
Hey!
Also, I was going to say in the comments, if you guys, what was your favorite part of The Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah.
Let us know.
Least
Let us
favorite
know.
part.
And what was your least favorite? Yeah, we're good.
What would
with
you have
both.
done differently?
Oh man, I
What
don't know
would
if we
you
have
have
that much time.
All right. Do we have that meme of the every ending? Yeah. So there's a hilarious meme here for
That's the ending.
Nick found as well.
Yes.
The Rise of Sky, episode
yeah.
9, the blank of the blank,
No childhood ruined.
by not Ryan
guaranteed.
Johnson, not J.J. Abrams, only the greatest Star Wars expert, you.
Choose from over 4,276,347
47
endings.
No childhood ruined guarantee.
It literally, honestly though,
I would want it. I would want that.
I think the average person could probably come up with a better ending.
Yeah,
You think so?
I think so.
Maybe not, but
Average Star Wars fan, maybe.
average
Not
Star Wars
average
fan.
person.
But I mean, and not given this trilogy. I mean,
Right,
if you
yeah.
had like,
Yeah.
if you gave an average Star Wars fan
They should do
a treatment, you gave them a treatment, had them sit down and write a trilogy,
Yeah.
I think it would have ended up better
yeah.
because they would have treated the characters with respect.
Yep.
It would have
Well,
been
you gotta have
interesting.
like guidelines, like where it's gonna end. It's like, is Han, Leia, and Luke gonna be there at the end, and Lando? Are you gonna give everybody that at some point in the movies? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or not? Then you work backwards from there. They've never had that moment in this one,
No.
Yeah.
so they brought the whole
No,
thing back.
they didn't.
But there was no Lando, or at least no Luke. The original 3, no Luke, Leia, and Han moment.
There was
Yeah,
Luke and
that was a
Leia.
huge.
There was
miss.
Force Ghost.
Luke and Leia, but Luke was already a Force. Well, he was a Force projection,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
then
yeah, how did he
there was
catch that
Han and
lightsaber?
Leia for like a good couple of moments. What?
How do you catch
How
the
do you catch that
lightsaber in
lightsaber?
Rise of Skywalker?
I don't know.
Well,
But there was
technically they
no.
can sit. They
and
can
he's like-
sit down. I mean,
Yeah.
what's his name? Obi-Wan sat on a log.
It was pushing the boundaries, and Yoda did the lightning in Last
Yeah.
Jedi.
Yeah.
There are no rules.
So that
but I
Yeah.
liked it because he treated the lightsaber with respect, and he literally
Right.
said that.
I
right,
was
which
wrong.
I think you would
I
have.
was wrong.
Thank
which I
you.
was like, that makes sense.
What do you think
There's
about
the
the
Luke that we know
reveal?
and love.
That was probably one of my other favorite parts, and I think maybe yours too. The training sequence between Leia and Luke.
Yeah.
That
When he showed
was
him,
good.
when he showed her
totally
Luke's-
forgot about
yeah,
that.
when he showed her Leia's
Yes.
lightsaber,
Yep.
that was one of the best parts.
Give me
Yeah.
that movie.
Yeah,
Right. I would love to
Seriously.
give me
see
that movie. Give me
That-
that movie. We got it.
That was
That's one
awesome.
of the endings.
We've delivered it.
I want to see younger hero Luke. I want
Yeah.
to see
Yeah,
because
I
I've
wanna see
read
him train
almost
the
all
Jedi.
not all, but I've read a ton of the expanded universe, and man, there are some really good ones.
yeah.
Yeah.
That deliver in so many ways. It's not edgy. It's not like but sometimes there are twists and turns that you're like, what? I did not see that coming in some of
Right.
these books, namely the Thrawn trilogy. But even after that, there's still some really fantastic ones, and they go a direction that at least was interesting for the fact that it was something different, totally different in some
Yeah.
of these, where they introduced like an alien species that was like basically immune to the Force, and that actually posed an actual threat to the Jedi.
Yeah.
Because the Jedi were getting a lot bigger and a lot stronger at that time frame, and it made it really interesting. There was still a bunch of lore and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So anyway, I still think that I want to make a meme. I want to make a meme that basically has like a face of somebody like, or whatever. I don't know what the face would be, but basically where it shows that, and it says, when you realize, I'm going to make this meme. I have to. When you realize that the expanded universe is way better than the Disney trilogy.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh.
that'd be beautiful.
Seriously, it
Yeah.
is in a lot of ways. They
Yeah.
got rid of the expanded universe, which they should have done is taken the best from the
Yeah.
expanded universe.
'Cause there's your
And
source
make it-
material.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
your source material. That's the Marvel Cinematic Universe right there.
But it's like that. You can argue like, well, we want to do our own thing.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And so then they
And
push it as
destroy
far
it.
away as they can, and then in the meantime they realize that this isn't working like we
Well,
thought
and
it was.
nobody likes
Exactly.
this because
Zar,
Oh,
he
we did
said.
our own thing.
Yeah.
Zar, he said, Moto, I said, I enjoyed the Rey and Kylo love story, but I still think Rey and Finn is better. LOL.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't mind that.
The Rey and Finn. People
I
were
don't mind
shipping
Rey and
the
Finn.
Raylo.
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 Not-
Raylos are weird. That's
Raylo.
what somebody was saying online.
Raylo's
It's like
so weird.
JJ is getting like, oh yeah, JJ was getting like death threats from
For
like
that?
Raylo fans. Literally,
Because
I heard about that because they killed off Kylo Ren.
Ooh,
Wow.
That's
the
that's
fandom,
creepy. and
that's
weird.
crazy.
That's too
far.
that's
That
too
is
far,
way
guys.
too far.
they just wanted to see them together.
Apparently.
I don't know. At the
and
end
then
of
he
that,
gave it to him and then immediately
Then he-
yanked it away. Which again,
you were like, and he dies.
and he,
Yeah.
he literally
and then he
did.
just
And then you called.
I
No,
was like,
you called.
and he disappears.
Yeah, I didn't call that. That was hilarious.
And he disappeared. I was
We
like,
were both just like,
"Oh!"
I was
Wow.
like, he healed her, and then we were like, he healed her, and then I was like, and he dies,
Right.
and he literally falls over dead,
Yep.
and
And
then
he
right
disappears.
before he disappears, Nick's like, and he disappears, which is like totally called off.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was just,
that would have been a great hilarious scene if they just kept healing each other.
I know,
they just
I
keep
wanted that
dying.
to happen. I wanted her to heal him,
Right.
and then it would like go back and
It's
forth.
like
That
an-
would have been hilarious.
supposed to be like his
And then
heartfelt
Palpatine
moment,
would've-
and they just keep
Right.
And then
re-healing each other.
Palpatine would have walked out of the other room
"What are you
as
doing?"
what's his name, young Palpatine.
Right.
Yeah.
As the guy, I think he actually did film a scene. What's his name? He's one of the doctors
The doctors.
from Doctor Who.
I don't know.
Matt Smith. Matt Smith. He was. I think he did film a scene and possibly a young
Oh, yeah.
Palpatine.
Because he wasn't he
Scene.
rumored to be in the
He was
movie, and he said, "No,
rumored.
I'm not in the movie."
Yeah. Yep. And
How would he know that?
I think Christian
Right.
Harloff was getting all mad
Ticked
about
off.
that
Yeah, I
too
saw
because
that.
he's like, "You're just lying."
Right.
Anyway, it's kind of funny. But then he walks out, and then he's like, "Stop it, guys! Stop healing each other!" Just kills them all, and then
Exactly.
it goes off in the end of the movie.
Wow.
Force lightning.
That's
Okay,
funny.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that's still a better ending.
It may be.
No, but it was like that fact before with Last Jedi, where it was like you don't disappoint the audience.
Right,
That's the thing
yeah.
of story writing,
Yeah.
like writing a story. You don't. The reveal shouldn't ever be more disappointing than what you're actually giving them.
Right.
You know, whenever Luke walks out and he's
Right.
like a Force thing, and everybody's like, "Yes, it's epic, Luke," and you're like, "Just kidding, he's not there at all, and he's dead." It's like
Yeah, right.
disappointment,
Right.
huge disappointment.
Yeah.
And then this one, it was like, "Oh, here's Kylo," and Rey.
Oh, he's redeemed.
That really kind of works, actually.
Yeah.
You're like, sweet, he's redeemed. Yes!
It's a big galaxy.
Dead.
Right.
It's a
He's
big
just
galaxy. They
dead.
could
Disappointment,
go making
though.
amends the rest of his
Yeah.
life. If they
A
want.
lot of
Yeah.
people cheered, but if you were gonna do that, then don't even bring him back. Hardly.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah.
gonna bring him back,
Don't bring him back.
bring him
and
back
then-
for a split second, like Vader. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And then die, not make out and then die. Like what?
Yeah.
And also, he disappeared, which is odd.
Well, because he turned back to the light and Rey and
He became light.
and she
Light.
and
So-
Leia was with him, and they both disappeared at the same time.
So Palpatine is Rey's grandfather.
yeah, that's
So
also.
she has to live with that the rest of her
Right.
existence.
Yeah,
So what? She
there are
she
so
ended
many
him
questions there
with
that
all
are
with all the
awkward to think about.
with all the Jedi being helping her to eliminate him.
Yeah.
Cool, awesome, fantastic. But
But
Well, and that's
what
why
does
she
the
said,
future of Star Wars hold as we transition into this final bit of our show here?
Yeah.
Where can they go from that if they try to move along? If with Rey and
I
how do
don't
you
know,
explain
because they
her being a
literally killed
Palpatine?
off every actual Skywalker in this film.
Yeah.
yeah,
They
So they
killed off.
can't-
it should have been the fall of Skywalker.
It should have been the fall of Skywalker. Should have been the fall of Star Wars.
The
fall
dive.
of Star Wars.
Just joking.
What's the opposite of Rise?
The Ewoks rise again.
Yeah, that would have been more interesting.
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking.
They did show Ewoks.
did
They
show
did,
Ewoks.
which I liked. That
They
was
should
that
have
wasn't
showed,
bad. I wanted to hear him say the
Whatcha?
something like that.
They also,
But yeah, sorry, go
they had
ahead.
a lot of cameos in this one.
Yeah, Wedge and Tilly's. I
Wedge
did
came
not
back.
think he was going to
For
come
one
back.
scene.
That was cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lando was handled beautifully. He was
Yeah.
awesome.
Mando was epic.
So many good scenes. But anyway, where do we go from here?
In the future, we're gonna get
I
to an
don't know.
article
I
about
don't-
what they're rumoring
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah,
See,
but
that's
I'm
where
not
I
even-
hope they take it.
Yeah, me
Because
too.
I don't know where they're gonna take it.
In 10
beyond
years,
this.
do you think when our kids are a little bit older, they'll have a new trilogy, an episode 10,
I mean,
11, and 12 to
if
look
they can
forward
get
to?
any of them to come back,
Right.
That's the
or do they
biggest
get
thing.
them to come back? Because then Rey would be older, maybe. Maybe she's
Would
not.
they use the same characters?
Yeah, I don't think they will.
No.
I think it depends on
I
how
think they're
Star
gonna
Wars
wipe their hands of
hangs
this.
out.
I think
yeah.
they're basically gonna wipe their hands of
They're
this
gonna
trilogy
Let
and
it
start.
calm down a bit.
Yeah, and then
then
start
be like,
fresh.
Yeah, we're just gonna do.
So,
another chapter.
prediction, how long till you think episode 10, 11, and 12? Because if we do this YouTube for like 50 years, Nick will be like 80.
Right.
It's you signed the contract, Nick.
Oh.
Should I?
No,
You signed
but
the contract.
basically,
It's a
how
blood contract.
you think 10 plus years? You think 10 plus years
Well, I
before they
mean-
do episode 10, or
I think
less than 10
When
years? What do you
was,
guys think on
when did
comments out
Revenge
there?
of the
Yeah.
Sith
10
come out?
plus years before they do episode 10, or less than 10 years before they
Right.
do episode 10?
I think it's more than 10, if
More than
ever.
10.
That's
If
my
ever, yeah.
that's my opinion.
When did Revenge of the
Yeah.
Sith come
Unless
out?
they do a side story with just Rey,
Yeah.
but that's basically 10.
They haven't announced another movie yet.
No,
Officially, I thought they did.
A movie?
it's a rumor.
Oh, they haven't, have they?
So they haven't
don't know.
announced
Like a
a movie. When do you think the next movie will come out?
2021.
2021.
That soon?
No,
They'd have to film it now.
Wait, no, 2020.
2025.
No, actually, I think 2022.
Think
is
they're
when
gonna wait 2
coming.
years to try to hit Christmas?
Yeah, they're gonna try and hit Christmas because I think what they're gonna do,
Crimbus.
basically, they're I think they're changing a lot behind the scenes that we have
think so?
no idea about. I think
Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy is getting kind of not replaced, but
Sorry, said less than 10. Sorry to interrupt.
okay,
Less
no,
Less than
10.
10. All right, yeah.
less than 10. For how
I
much?
think-
I mean, yeah.
I
it
think
is-
if they look at it from a strictly business
Yeah,
standpoint,
less than 10.
no, I still think
Oh.
I
got
still
another vote here.
so less than
Alisand,
10.
I think more like 15 to 20.
yeah,
They'll want to give people a lot of time to forget.
they need to.
Yeah.
They need to let it
it's-
simmer down.
Maybe. I think,
People are
though,
getting angry.
I feel like they will want more money.
Yeah,
And
that's
they
the
will
other
That's-
side
Less
of
than
it.
10.
But no,
cram an
It's a-
episode
it's a
10.
But
cash
the-
cow,
no, but
so
the
they're
thing
just
is-
gonna
Maybe
keep
8
milking
years or
it,
something. Yeah.
no, but if you look at it from a money even a money making perspective, again, it's diminishing returns.
Yeah.
If they keep
They have to
trying
cut-
to milk in this, they're literally going to drive it to the ground, and
Yeah.
people are going to stop liking the IP altogether.
It's true.
So the thing is, they really need to.
They're gonna go somewhere
regrouping.
else.
They're going somewhere else, and
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the next trilogy, and that's going to be in the next 10 years. Is that
Yeah.
trilogy, and then maybe after that, after Star Wars has gotten a good leg again, then they'll come back when they have a vision and then they'll tie her
Yeah.
back in.
Brady
Or tie her
said
back in.
they got to let us cleanse our palates.
Yeah, it's true. We need
That
some
is
coffee.
Yeah, and I
Need some
think that's
coffee.
if
Beans?
you want to
That's what
pop
you
up
do?
that next
Ginger.
article, dealing with the future, an article that just came out on Slash that
Yes.
talked about the next Star Wars movie saga rumored to take place 400 years before the Skywalker saga.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
they're that's where they're going.
and I think that makes sense. And there were
it should be a lot further. I think.
a lot more than
I think it
400
should
years.
be more than 400 years.
The thing about 400 years, anything less than 900,
Is Yoda
and you can have
territory.
Yoda.
Yeah.
But I think
So that
that's a
could be Yoda in his prime.
Yeah, but
again.
that could be a mistake.
nice.
That
could
could
be a
be a
mistake,
big
'cause-
mistake.
It could
shrinking the
be,
universe.
But what do you know?
I think they need to get to a point. I think the only reason they might do 400 years is because of the success of Baby Yoda, and they want to have
right.
powerful Yoda, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. But at the same time, I don't think it's far enough back to have, like a warring.
They're gonna go
you know-
into all Yoda. They're gonna at that point they're gonna be
All the
all
Yodas.
Yodas.
Well, no, I just mean like because like
We all came
it's-
from Yoda.
it's
Yeah.
legends that like Mandalorians, Sith, and
Jedi.
and Jedi fought,
Yeah.
you know, but a millennia ago. Isn't that what he says?
Yeah,
Like, what does Obi-Wan say in the prequels or something like that? He says something about we haven't seen the Sith in over like a millennia or something like that. What's a millennia? I forget.
1,000 years.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
almost a millennia. So that would put it before Yoda's time, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a solid rumor. I
But
think.
anyway, sorry.
But it's
Yeah.
on a fairly reputable. But I don't know where the rumor stems from. If it's just some Reddit
Right. Yeah.
thing, or if it's actually like.
I would very much like.
Oh
to
no,
see
it was
this.
Star Wars. I'm sorry, it was like making Star Wars. That's where it came from, the source.
Oh,
And
they're
yeah,
more
they
reputable.
are very reputable.
It's like George Lucas
They-
giving them nuggets.
Yeah, it's almost like he's giving them stuff because they almost always nail it.
Yeah.
What were we saying?
And they're pretty confident when they put it out. I don't think if they're not confident, they won't really put it out.
Mhm.
Yeah. I was saying I would very much like to see this.
I would still like
Yeah.
to see this
Yeah.
because I think it'd be more interesting.
I think I would like to see more so of like the Old Republic.
Yeah,
Do you remember?
that's what I mean. Like
Star
going back
Wars?
over like 1,000
Yeah,
years
Star
ago.
Wars: The Old Republic.
Yeah,
Those cutscenes.
those
that
were
they had.
amazing.
Yeah.
Those were
my
better.
Oh yeah.
Those were
Those
better
were
than these
great.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those inspired
had-
the fan film
yeah,
Yeah.
before Force Awakens came out.
yeah.
And you were just like,
Those were
watching
so
those,
good.
yeah.
And those were only like what 10, 15 minutes.
yeah.
Yeah, because
And
they
they
can come
had
up
more
with
story, and you cared about the
They're
characters.
still coming out with them. Have you seen the recent ones?
No, I
Yeah.
haven't. I
They're
need to.
sweet, dude.
Oh
Wow.
my goodness, I need to.
Yeah.
They need just
yeah.
basically what they need to do is just give those people the reins
Right. Yeah.
Just
to
some
make a movie,
epic
and even you
stories,
can even
yeah.
do it animated. I don't
Yeah,
even care.
exactly.
Yeah.
How they
Just
do
leave it
those is
animated.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So what if they do like if they announce that there's the next one's 2022, on the 400 years ago or 1,000 years ago or whatever, and away from the Skywalkers, none of that's around. It's just Sith armies and Jedi armies maybe or whatever.
That would be epic.
And then you go
But I
for
don't
like
think they
6 years. Every 2 years at Christmas they come out with it, and then that trilogy ends, and then where do you go?
After that trilogy,
And then you got Rey coming back because they announced that they're gonna do Episode 10.
Well, I think
No.
I think if you play the Old Republic right, and that's why I think they should go back even farther.
They
Yeah.
could keep going. With
I think
it,
they could
yeah.
keep going. I don't think they need to even limit themselves to a trilogy
Because
because
the Skywalker
just
saga is
I
only like
honestly-
60 years
'Cause-
or
Yeah.
80 years or
Why-
whatever.
Why?
I would honestly like it to be a show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no.
like
What,
The Mandalorian.
okay, I like that, but no. What they need to do if
Or
they're
a
smart,
miniseries.
if they're smart, they basically turn this into Marvel.
Yeah.
Go back, do the Old Republic, make it so that it has a huge story,
Yeah.
and do movies of different characters or characters that follow a path, and they all come together
Yeah.
like Marvel. You
Yeah.
already have the
You have
format,
structure.
the structure. You have stories. You could do that, and if you did that right, it would be even bigger than Marvel.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You go way back, you start building like clean slate because that's clean slate
Yeah.
territory
it
if you
is,
go
yeah.
far enough
It's
back.
Uncharted. Yeah. Well, beside the game.
The games and
Yeah.
stuff like that, but you could still use that
Yeah.
to build up to certain things,
Yeah.
and they could tweak things because it's not going to directly affect the.
Yeah,
you know, that's
exactly.
what I'm saying. It
'Cause it's
doesn't
so
directly
far-
affect because it's so far back
Yeah.
that you don't know all
Yeah.
of these characters. They're all going to die 1,000 years before the original trilogy
Yeah,
comes out.
Exactly.
So if you did that and you built upon it, then you could make 20 movies
Yeah.
And have like an Avengers Endgame be the ultimate one, where all of the armies come together and they fight. It's an epic movie. You bring all the characters that you know and love that you've come along the way with.
We had a comment from Zari. She said it would be great to do another, I think, solo movie with Taika Waititi directing.
Oh my gosh.
That is
Just
how
give
they
him
should have done
anything,
it.
yeah.
That's how they should have had. That's who they should have had done it,
Yeah.
or at least
Yeah.
let what's their names finish
Finish it. Yeah.
finish it. I don't know, but they should have just steered clear of that movie altogether. To be honest,
Or if they do a
Or done
solo
the-
series.
the series
on
would have
Disney
been
Plus
better.
with
Force Awakens.
It had to have been pitched like, we're going to get rid of Han Solo in The Force Awakens, so let's do a solo movie with Han Solo to make the fans happy that he's still around in a way.
That's almost what
Right.
they were doing.
That's what
They
it
were-
feels like.
yeah.
And when you first
Fan
heard it, you're like,
service.
oh, they're going to do a solo movie. That'll be exciting. When you
Right.
first hear it,
yeah,
like,
that could be
interesting.
interesting.
you're like, so, and then you find out definitely not Harrison Ford.
Mm-hmm.
And then you
Right.
find out, like, because then at one time you're like, well, what if it was like Harrison Ford, like telling a story, like Indiana Jones or something, like looking back,
That would have been more interesting.
you
I
know,
think, if it
at
worked.
like he's sitting down with Lando,
yeah,
like telling a story,
at like the cantina bar.
yeah, at the
Yeah.
cantina,
or
and they're,
at a bar,
and maybe they're
playing
older.
Sabacc.
Yeah.
They're playing Sabacc together.
yeah, and then it just flashes back and then it ends. You know what I mean? If it was more
would've been-
lighthearted,
that
like
would've
the
been
two dudes
fantastic.
that did Cloudy with a Chance, I can't remember their names.
Yeah,
You know, if something like that, so you actually see Han, but
Yep.
you get it. It's a different actor doing
and
the
it's
job. but-
almost like a
right.
memory, like a hyper realized memory. Like not an actual
Right.
event. It's like told from the perspective of Han Solo.
I
and
mean,
that's
you
like
could do
how he
so
sees
much.
himself in
Him
some
and-
ways.
him and Lando just having a conversation. He's like, that's not how it happened.
Right.
Yeah, that would be
and
hilarious.
the two different
actually.
perspectives, that would just set it apart so much. But I feel like even that,
It might have been jarring. And Star Wars
Yeah.
done that way has never been done before. So that would have been really tricky to pull off. But if you would have taken it and as a series and done that,
yeah, right.
it would have been, I think, a huge success.
Brady said, I really like the idea of Star Wars following a Marvel format.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
could
I
re-
agree, buddy.
It could
Star
work.
Wars is the best one to do that in.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
they pulled it off. Adventures in
Totally.
Babysitting. That is so good.
Good
But they
line.
pulled it off for Marvel,
Yeah.
but they don't need to even think about it with Star Wars. They
Right.
should have done that with Star Wars to begin with.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Star Wars is ripe for that. Look at the thousands of books
Yeah.
that have been written in Star Wars alone by fans,
Mhm.
by really well-known people. There's
I think so much of it just comes down to the business side that took a toll because they paid $4 billion for the movie. So they're like, well, we can't just like sit on it. We got to get something out quick.
yeah.
Who can get something out quick? And then they tried to use George's. You thought,
No,
his
they
treatment,
didn't. That's
and then
part
they
of the
threw it
problem.
out. But no, George was there initially, like in the conversations, and then when he realized that they were going to go somewhere way different,
Yeah,
that's when he's like, I'm out.
I'm out.
there
And
was
he
those
was there for the,
conversations.
he was there for more of the off stories.
Right, and that should have been the first sign that you're
Unique.
like, uh-oh.
That's
Because
a
George
bad
is
thing.
like, I don't want anything to do with this stuff.
Well, and how
Right.
he called them like
Right.
white slavers and stuff like
Yeah.
that, which was pretty bad.
Yeah, he
but
kind of really attacked
kinda-
Disney
yeah,
in that.
he really didn't
Yeah.
like.
He
what they
wasn't
were.
very happy, but I think that was like ripping off the Band-Aid.
And
you
in
know, he
some
was a
ways,
little-
it's also like you sold it to him, man. You should have.
Yeah.
Right.
You should have
Should have
known.
put
So
that
in
clause
some
in there
ways,
that
it's on him
George
in a
has to
lot of
approve it,
ways.
yeah.
Right.
And that's why he's kind of had to suck it up for the most part because he sold it to him. And I think
Yeah.
I wonder if he still doesn't kick himself a little bit for that.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah, and Disney, they did that with Marvel. I like this
yeah,
one.
this is hilarious.
What made you cancel Disney Plus? Please select all that apply. Other. Mandalorian is over. This is the way.
This is the
It's one of the
way.
best memes that have come out.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
they did announce that a lot of people were
Yep,
crashing
they're
on Disney
canceling
Plus.
it
Cancel,
after
cancel,
The
cancel, because
Mandalorian.
all they wanted was Mando.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's just the nature. I was talking about that over the streaming lifestyle. It's
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
people that don't want to pay for cable because they don't have the money or they don't want to spend the money to pay for something they don't have. That's just the generation we're in now.
Yeah.
They want to pay for something like 1 month
Yeah.
and
Right.
get out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you
It's
can binge
smart.
it.
I mean, really, it's save money that way. Really.
and that's
And,
what.
and that's why streaming makes a lot of sense versus TV, I think,
Mhm.
because why pay for 1,000 channels that you're never going to watch
Right.
all of them or care about,
Yeah.
but pay
True,
for
true.
what you actually like and want to watch? That's why
Yeah.
I think TV should have gone that way a long time ago.
And because
you can pay
yeah.
you can pay for what channels you want. That's
Yeah.
I think they
Yeah.
should have done that a long time ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
they're just
but they
now
don't see the money in
starting
it.
to do
But
that.
now they're
Yeah.
retroactively losing money because they
Right.
they
Well,
haven't changed.
Even the generation that we're in now, like a lot of the original fans, like I don't think they wanted it. I mean, it was in the Star Wars special, but it was like you don't put something on TV because TV back in the day was
Yeah,
like
that's true. It had more of a negative
way
connotation
B-rated or
because
you
they
know,
just didn't have the budget.
like
You weren't making
film.
the money.
Yeah,
off of
film was
TV.
like high quality, good content. So Star Wars only lives in film.
Yeah, mhm.
And nowadays with streaming, because
Yeah.
it's become so popular, and you can take it on your phone, and you
Well,
can
and
take it
you're-
on your
and they're making a lot of revenue still off of it.
and that monthly direct to the consumer they call that platform is like the future, and it's here.
Yeah.
And we're making a YouTube show, and you can watch it on your phone or do whatever, you know. a
Yeah, because when you
podcast.
think of it in a business standpoint, again, too, especially since Disney is their own thing, when you think of it, you pay for a movie ticket, it's what, can be up to $13, $15, $16, $18 now.
I think the
some days.
national average is like 12 or
12 or
11 or
something.
10 or something.
But you go see a movie once or twice. Okay, so yeah, boom, it's a big flux right there in the beginning because you get everybody go
Right.
see it at once. So it's huge, but then it goes down really quickly after that.
Right.
Whereas streaming, it's more of a long format game. But you're getting people to pay monthly, so it's a little bit lower cost. But if they're locked in for life, in a lot of ways, you have almost guaranteed revenue for a long time. And if you get all those millions of people that go see your movies that are subscribing to your thing every month,
Yep.
you are now making way more off the streaming platform over a period of time
Yeah.
than you are in just a movie. You
It's
know,
an interesting landscape because then there's the argument of, well, what if they took the Mandalorian show and made that a film? You know, took a part of that and turned that
Yeah.
into a movie. Then it's kind of this weird slippery slope. You
They
don't know.
could.
Yeah,
I
maybe
think they could.
Oh, I think they could if they took a section of it or after the Mandalorian
Or
is
a big
over.
finale type thing, kind of like what
Yeah.
they did with Firefly, because that movie works actually.
Yeah.
If you watch Firefly, it's
Okay.
a good series.
I mean, they did that with the Clone Wars animated movie, which was awful, but it set the
reversed.
stage
It was
for the
kinda
show.
reversed. Yeah.
And that, but it just wasn't the best movie to
It
begin
wasn't.
with. But then the show
Was
came out and ended up
fantastic.
being fantastic. It was a
Yeah.
little rough early,
in the
but
beginning, yeah.
ended up being fantastic. But I think that's with Disney Plus now, 10 million an episode. I think Game of Thrones is credited for starting that like big budget, you know, high quality, like film quality with HBO, making this a movie and a TV show.
An epic series
Yeah.
that has way big stuff in it versus like most of the time you get TV series that are like low special effects.
Well, you got like Marvel's,
Yeah.
the movies, and then you've got, what was the side show?
Oh,
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was definitely more condensed.
Right, but
not
it's like
as on par with
ABC, I think, because that's Disney. But you know what I mean? Like they get like $1,000 an episode.
Yeah.
But they're kind of in the same universe, and then you got, but now you got
But then they totally disbanded from that universe in a lot
right?
of ways.
Yeah, they did eventually. But then they get the Mandalorian, who could tie into, you know, of course he's playing in a time period where there's not a whole lot of, you know,
And the effects, though, I still think work in this series.
yeah,
Because of the nature of Star Wars.
Yep.
You know,
very practical.
yeah, it's still practical, but they
and
have
I think
some good
Disney
special
is really
effects.
still trying, Lucasfilm, Disney, whatever, is still trying to keep that polished, that professional look. Like Star Wars
Yeah.
is still up on a pedestal.
Yeah.
We're not going to drop the ball
Yeah.
and make it really low quality. And some people argue they didn't like the CG and the blurgs or whatever, but
Yeah, I would.
I think it's still
It was a
works.
little reminiscent of prequels, but that in some ways, but that almost adds to the character of it.
Yeah.
Instead of taking away, because it's already something you've seen in Star Wars.
Well, even
Whereas
the original
when you go
trilogy,
from like 'cause when you go from like a huge budget movie and then you come to a show, you know, like Marvel, you have these awesome things, and then they have like $5,000 an episode, and the CGI is like we could do better CGI almost.
right?
You know
it
what I
feels
mean?
Like it, yeah.
That's what it feels like. But in Star Wars, you know, it's already been seen, and they hold themselves to a high standard. But they also have practical ways to do a lot of stuff, and that adds to the character and charm, and saves money.
Yeah.
Then sweet, let's do it. And they also have Industrial Light and Magic. I mean, they're
Right. Yeah.
top of the
And
line.
there's a way to tell a movie like The Joker or whatever that's
Yeah.
a huge, you know, amazing success, but you don't have to spend $200 million.
Yeah. Well, and if you even look
if you
at
play
like
it right.
Batman, you know, the Christopher Nolan, you know, he does
Yeah.
he does as much practical work as possible.
Dunkirk was 100% practical.
Yeah, which is
Yep.
crazy when you think
What?
about it. So you can make practical
Yeah.
movies. It's very difficult nowadays,
Yeah.
but you can do it and do it well. So that's kind of I think some of the philosophy they're going by.
Yeah, and I think that's why The Mandalorian worked, because they were able to bring back some of the original practical ways of doing things.
Yeah.
You know, with combining that with the digital technology of today.
Yeah.
and
But
hybriding that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think if The Mandalorian really takes off, I do think, and I already has. What am I saying?
Right.
I do think if they want to end it or even include him, because that's actually something Star Wars going forward.
Mhm.
I have heard some rumors of them doing either a show with young Luke and the
Interesting.
the Jedi Order.
Yep.
There actually has been rumor of that. What I want to see them do is either recast or do almost an animated version of the Thrawn trilogy. I
Yeah.
think it's ripe, and I think you'd get a lot of fans back on board if you did that.
Yeah.
And you would introduce a lot of fans, like casual fans, to a really great story
Yep.
that really works if you do it the right way.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's future Star Wars. I could see them doing that. If they were
Yeah.
smart, I would do that. But the thing is, they kind of shot themselves in the foot by jumping so far ahead
Yeah.
and making it so it's going to be really hard to do that in some
Yeah.
ways. But they could.
Yeah.
They could. And then they could almost erase this trilogy if they just restart it.
Look, it's
They're
like
not-
it never happened.
They're not going to do that. 'cause
Yeah,
it's
and that's the
it's
weird thing
Marvel.
about
Yeah.
Marvel.
Yeah.
The thing that Marvel can do, even Star Trek with time travel.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah.
I mean,
With
technically,
Star Wars,
Star
it's a lot
Wars,
harder to
it's
do
harder
that
to do. They've set it kind of in the world between worlds,
Rebels.
but it would be really weird if they did that. But in Star
Some
Trek,
people said that might have been a way that
Palpatine did some
Palpatine
stuff.
lived.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which that might actually be believable in some ways.
right.
Right.
And maybe they can
Why he was still jacked up too.
get an animated series going. You know, with some of these characters to explain. You know, maybe in a couple of years they can release a animated series with some of these people and
Yeah.
explain what happened to Palpatine, how he survived,
Or recast and do it on Disney Plus.
Right.
or
That's a show.
Yeah.
A long format series.
a live action
Which
show.
the benefit of a long format series or movies is you have so much more time to develop.
yeah.
That's the problem with the Rise of Skywalker. We didn't
Yeah.
have nearly enough time to develop these characters.
Yep.
Right.
And because we didn't develop them hardly at all in episode 8,
No.
really,
Yeah.
Stagnant.
it was kind of stagnant.
And like
it
you
didn't
said,
give you enough time.
that's why I feel like you said Marvel. I have an advantage, but oh shoot, what were we saying?
With the source material?
Well, the source material, but no, the build up
The time
in
to
the
build up.
characters.
Yeah.
They introduced somebody in the third film of that 20 film thing, and then you saw him come in and do a little bit in this movie, and then the Avengers had their big movie.
Or they had their own movie.
Right.
But they still tied together.
Right, but then they all tied together. So
And
by
then they
the
start
end,
working together.
I mean, by the end, Iron Man, as you know, Iron Man, the first movie. By the time you saw him at the end of Endgame, you're like, oh my goodness, that scene was so epic.
So epic.
Because you'd had 20 films. So in a way, Marvel did their first like TV show
Yeah.
in the film world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why it felt so.
Genius.
And that's why we're used to digital streaming now, like having like 4
Long
seasons of.
format.
I think that's part of
Yeah.
their downfall. And trying to just make it a trilogy almost isn't enough anymore if you're
No.
trying to establish
Right.
a serious
If it's
amount
not
of
done
character. Yeah, if it's not done right.
If
yeah.
it's not done
You can
right.
do it in one film.
Yeah.
But you have to leave some things out and bring
Mhm.
some things in. But if you're doing it as a trilogy, first of all, I think you got to plan the
You
trilogy.
gotta have a
Yeah.
You
beginning
got to
and a
know
middle
where
and
you're
an
going
end.
so that you can really build up the parts that are need to
Yeah.
be built and drop the ones that you don't like. Don't bring in Phasma. Get her out of there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
don't build
What-
her up anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then don't build up Hux or whatever if you're just gonna make him like
Oh,
he's a spy and he's dead.
I hated that
'Cause
That
they
wa-
built
it was
him up-
so dumb.
Yeah, there's things that you don't build up. You focus on Luke. You
Yeah.
focus on the main things and drive those characters and give them the time that they need to. I don't know.
He could have
grow.
had an interesting arc in that movie.
Hux.
Yeah.
Hux.
Yeah.
And he could have actually played a role at the end.
What if he?
The
What if he?
ene- the-
Jumped ship and
The enemy of my
Yeah.
enemy is my friend was a very interesting thing that they could have used
Yep.
even in the final scenes against Palpatine, you know?
Yeah.
And then he's trying to still take over. You know, it would have
Yeah.
could have worked, but because of episode 8, they basically made him a joke.
Yeah.
yeah.
So and they were like, "Oh, he's a joke character, so just kill him off."
Yep.
Right.
How old would Palpatine be in this one?
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
gosh.
100?
Oh, because how old was he?
I don't know.
At the end
He was
of,
old enough that he had a lot of gray hair.
probably I would guess he was probably 50s around
50s or 60s, I would say.
around the Revenge of the
Yeah.
Sith.
They could have made him Darth Sidious.
Well, what they
Or
should have
Sidious.
done? No. What they should have done? They shouldn't have brought Palpatine in the back. They should have had. They should have
Sidious.
Plagueis.
Or Plagueis. I'm sorry, not
Jar Jar.
I'm talking about Plagueis.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
That
Actually,
would've been
Not
great.
Sidious. I mean Plagueis.
Yeah,
That's what I mean.
That's
yeah.
what you mean. That would have been more interesting because then it would have been like Plagueis never actually died. So Palpatine thought he killed Plagueis, But Plagueis is actually still way out there amassing an army,
Right.
and you
The
didn't
Sith
even
army.
you didn't even know that.
Right.
That would have been so much more interesting because then also it wouldn't have cheapened what Anakin, Darth Vader did at the end of 6.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have cheapened that at all.
Right.
It would have actually made his
Right.
sacrifice still worthwhile
Mm-hmm.
and still kept that wholesome. You could have even still made her a Palpatine,
Right.
Yeah.
and then but having what's his name Plagueis come back and him being on the outside and watching it all from afar, controlling
Yeah.
everything. That would have been more interesting as the story goes, and it wouldn't have ruined things in the past.
Right.
Right.
And it would have been more believable.
Yeah.
Everybody would have been like, "What? This
For
is
sure.
and this would have been totally new. We've never seen Plagueis,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
at least on the big
We've only
screen.
heard of him.
We've only heard of him. That would have added
Snoke
to the
could have been
mystique.
Plagueis' puppet then,
Yeah.
not the
Right.
Emperor's puppet.
Yeah.
And Snoke would have had more weight because they built up Snoke in a
And
way.
then they killed him off.
Because
and
they
it was
didn't
like,
really
kill
give
him
you
off.
him,
It's
and
like,
they
who
didn't really
is
give
it?
you Snoke in the Force Awakens, but except
Barely, a
the
few
whatever,
scenes.
and then they
Yeah.
give you him like big time in the Last Jedi
And
because he was supposed to be the big guy, and then they kill him off, and you're like, oh, and then the Emperor's like, I made him. See that jar of almonds
that
over
was
there?
weird. Just like
A jar of
grotesque.
almonds.
Yeah,
It was a little like
yeah.
whatever.
Whatever, man.
So-
So it would have.
it's like he was trying.
That's
to,
what I mean. Honestly, if they would have just brought us in for writing this trilogy, we could have given them 10 better ideas on how to make the story work.
Yeah. Well, we're getting close to our cap here.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
We're just
On,
passionate about Star
We're just
Wars.
passionate.
We love talking about
love
Star
talking
Wars.
about it. We're gonna
We have
do it.
so many ideas.
We'll have to do a daily show. It's funny because a lot of people are kind of like you said, done with Star Wars talk right now because it's not as easy to talk about with the way
Right.
that the fandom is, and so on and so forth. So we're gonna plow ahead.
and we're gonna
and we're gonna be
change
the
people's
only-
minds.
We're gonna be the only Star Wars show going because it's a Monday.
I gotta do it one more time.
Hey, I recognize that picture.
Oh yeah, you got it over there.
Yeah, we're good. But yeah, it could go
Yeah.
anywhere.
So we're us moving.
So
forward,
we're
is that what
moving
you're saying?
forward. We are Star Wars from now on. We're gonna.
Whoa.
We just wanted to break the
That's
news.
Right.
that we're writing.
Oh,
We're gonna
gosh.
be making tons of movies.
You say 10 years for episode 10. We say we'll do it next week.
next
Right.
week, and
Oh
we'll
my
make you love it
and we'll make
Right.
you love it.
because we have good ideas.
Give
It
us your
might
money
just be some
now.
hand-drawn sketches in front of the
Right.
camera.
Yeah.
This is scene one.
This is
Look at
fun.
motion. Ooh.
Look at these special
The
effects.
story is there.
Right.
The story is there.
Right.
The special effects are not.
We'll do the
Might
Lego
be a little
version.
prequel-esque.
The
I got the
Lego
Legos over there.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I say let's move forward. Let's try to change people's minds. Also, I'd like to kind of talk more about some of the expanded universe and what they did.
Yeah.
Because that would be
Yeah.
fun. I think that if more people got into that, I think there's more there than people realize.
Yeah,
it can
totally.
be cheesy at times, but a lot of the times they nail it. They do a really good job.
Mhm.
Especially, I would still recommend if you haven't read the Thrawn trilogy, read the Thrawn trilogy. It
Yeah,
is
read it, yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Unless they're
brilliant.
going to make a movie about it, then maybe wait and just watch the movie.
Yep. And we
Unless
still
the
have
movie's
some
not as
other.
good.
Yeah.
No, read the book.
Read the book.
Anyway,
I know
But
we
yeah,
got some
we've-
ideas.
we
I've
got some
actually
ideas
been
coming
going to release hopefully this week a behind the scenes, a bigger behind the scenes of our first Star Wars fan film. Whether you care about it or not,
yeah.
there's some funny stuff in there.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
we try to add some
that
the
one
sound
trailer
clip.
thing.
some
That was so
some
funny.
editor's notes and some behind the
Oh.
scenes like there's definitely a shot where I get stabbed in the neck and when we
Yeah,
got
whoops.
filmed and it's actually in the film, but I was watching it in slow-mo and
Things happen when you're doing choreography.
both of our
Yeah.
eyes were closed in that exact frame. My eyes were closed and your eye. Maybe we were both
that
blinking.
was the problem.
But we both. But even like
Well, because we were
flailing
moving
around.
so
filmed-
fast in that sequence too.
when I
That's
tried
why
to explain some of that through the behind the scenes. So
I
if
like
you guys,
you're narrating it.
well, not narrating it, but
I like
text.
how- I like
There's some subtext
I
that
like
comes up like,
the narration
and you
stuff,
see
too.
like we came up, but we could narrate it maybe. But
maybe we did.
Yeah,
maybe we
should
can
that.
do
That'd be
a.
fun.
What we should do is we could do a commentary watching ourselves watch
Oh,
it.
Yeah, because that wouldn't be copyright infringement.
No,
or
it's
anything.
our
It's
stuff.
our stuff.
Yeah, so we could do that.
Technically, still the IP of Star Wars, but
I
don't
just
let them know that.
I just can't. Ooh,
Yeah.
we
We
just
won't
can't
say
use the
Star
movie.
Wars.
But no,
You just
it's,
did.
so we're gonna be dropping that soon.
Hawk
so
Studio.
keep your eyes out for
Not
that.
a sponsor. Oh wait,
Yeah.
yes, it is a
Hawk
sponsor.
Studio.
We are a
Today-
sponsor
The
of
only
ourselves.
sponsor.
This week's sponsor
We're
is
self-sufficient.
us.
Speaking of which, if
Also,
you'd
we
like
need
to
money.
sponsor our show,
Yeah.
reach out to us.
We will
Yeah.
continue to do
Please.
these kind of shows and keep yakking podcast shows. I got some funny stuff filmed last week
Okay.
with a special guest.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian was in house. It's pretty funny. I'll show you
Or
guys
maybe the
footage.
Mandalorian's cause distant relative.
Mandalorians, yeah, that's true. Yeah, but it's hilarious stuff. So we got a green screen.
Yeah,
we got all kinds of
We got some more ideas for some content coming up.
yeah,
We'd like to review some more stuff that maybe has come out before.
yeah.
Yeah.
We think that'd be a lot of fun. So if you guys have any ideas for any content that you guys want to see us yak about and or review, watch, whatever,
Yeah,
let us know, and we'd be happy to do that.
slam it in the comments. But if you see that behind the scenes drop, it'll be all of the Hawk Studio stuff, and you might enjoy that. So
Yeah.
check it out. Yeah, it kind of is titled like how we made a Star Wars film for the first time without having any clue what we were doing.
Yeah, we had
Because
no
that's
idea.
true. Yeah, if you don't know what you're doing, sometimes you just got to dip your toes
gotta wing
in
it.
You
and
just gotta do it anyway.
mess up.
We're doing it live.
And
We're doing it live.
Even I kind of we didn't know the lighting situation, so we tried to do it in morning and
We do
evening
some-
only to keep it consistent.
Yeah, as
well,
much
that
as
year The
possible.
Revenant came out and it was all filmed in natural light. I remember
Yeah.
like we're gonna do that.
Yeah.
And then by the end we're like this is gonna take 6 months.
There's
Well,
a
we chose
bear.
that time because it was less harsh lighting, like we didn't less blowout,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. We had reasons.
Oh,
for
there was
doing
definitely
that.
reasons, yeah, but
We didn't
even
know
th-
the lengths that we would have
even
to go
then,
to in some ways.
it's interesting watching it because it rained the first shoot, the first day. It started raining,
Yeah.
and then we literally I watched how far we got in the action. It's literally like the beginning of the first scene.
It's
We didn't get a lot done the first day of shooting.
because you're figuring
Everything
everything
goes,
out.
yeah. And literally we're like, it took extra time to get the cameras ready. And so I plan on doing one for that one. We'll plan on doing one for elimination
Oh, really?
and want to
Okay.
do one for
Do we have
corrupt
behind the scenes stuff? or-
preservation. I got all kinds of stuff.
Sweet.
All the extra footage that didn't make the shot.
Yeah. Speaking of which one is everybody's favorite as far as our fan films
Yeah,
go?
go watch them.
Go watch them and
I'm
let
not
us
in any
know
of
what
them.
you guys like.
I was at
And
You're
if
gonna
you'd
be the
like
next
to,
one, Nick.
and if you'd like to see another one, we are
Yeah.
tossing out the
Yeah.
idea. I have ideas. that
Yes.
I've been working on them.
Yeah, some ideas. We're thinking about it.
Lightsaber.
And if you'd like to donate to these,
You don't have
films-
to, but if you'd like to.
But if you like to,
yeah.
we can't allow super chats or anything on our
Yeah,
on our
no,
channel
not
yet.
yet.
We're not there yet, but there are ways of putting in some. I don't know. We'll think about that.
we'll think about it. We'll figure it out.
If
yeah.
we can continue to deliver stuff that anybody enjoys, and maybe one person enjoys it and wants to give 12
Hey.
cents to us.
if
hey,
we if we
appreciate
get
that.
people to enjoy Star Wars more in a different way,
Yeah.
only one person, it's been worth it.
Yeah.
It's been worth
We're the Star Wars is going dark for a while, but we're going to come out of the darkness.
Yeah,
Right.
we're
Out
gonna
of the
be the
dark.
light.
We're going to rise.
It calls to us.
I feel it calling again.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But
Even though
talk
we
about,
seem negative with a
yeah.
lot of
Yeah,
stuff,
I think it's just
but
a,
it's just
yeah.
reality. That's
Yeah.
how we feel about it.
We were not
still
negative
love
on The
Star Wars.
Mandalorian. We were
No.
not negative.
Well, maybe one or two episodes.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, the Mandalorian, we
It was
couldn't talk about it enough.
fantastic.
man.
And
Fire
even with
Nation.
this being your favorite of all the three new ones, hey, that's
Yeah.
a big statement. Even though we
Even for
kind of
me- yeah,
even
for
though
me.
we just
there's a lot of
decided.
there's a lot of question marks, but hey, there's a lot of moments that were fan service that were cool.
That were cool. Yeah, they
That-
were fun.
Food for thought.
Action was good in that one too. I forgot to say that earlier. The action was
The
actually
action was
solid.
quite good. Yeah.
We're getting
And
some
we got a
comments.
YouTube comment from Zarhimoto. I look forward to it. All right, thanks. And then
Nice.
Alice Ann
Yeah.
said, "I like elimination, and I have donated $1,000. I have spoken."
I have spoken.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I actually
yeah.
really like
$1,000,
elimination.
thanks.
That is actually, I think elimination and preservation are my two top. But corruption has a no. It has a special place in my
Corruption
heart.
is
just
like the
because it's
original
the
trilogy. You're
original.
like, oh, it's so funny.
But I think
It's
for
so
me,
funny.
because of the choreography, because
Yeah.
I deal a lot with the choreography. I mean, we all do. We all pitch in, obviously, but I like that aspect of it. The choreography, I feel like in elimination was a lot tighter in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Also, because it was shorter and it was just like
Yeah.
a one-on-one. There was one scene though I really wish I would have changed.
Yeah,
There's
but
only
what-
one thing, but
I
I'll
think what
save
we might
that. I'll
do
save
is
that.
we should do a watch through with us talking.
Yeah.
And then maybe
Be
we
perfect.
can do a watch through with the behind the scenes stuff that we find, and we can laugh and whatever.
Yeah, just talk about it. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Funny.
Get
And
everybody's
then-
ideas and opinions too.
Exactly. And then see what people
Especially
think about
Nick's.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, we could do that. We could actually
It's
do
straight
that.
garbage.
We could actually
knew
do that
it.
on the next live stream. So
Yeah, maybe we'll.
Yeah.
we actually could because it's our own content.
All right.
At least for elimination and preservation because we own the rights to the music.
Sweet.
Corruption, we had no idea, and so the music is not
Yeah.
ours. But a lot of fan films' music is not theirs. YouTube allows it, but we can mute it and watch it. But anyway, it's fun stuff.
Also, what did you guys like us streaming Monday night? We're
Yeah,
still tossing
we're-
up tossing
trying
the
out different
idea,
stuff, yeah.
different nights, seeing what works for everybody. It looks like we got a lot of people watching tonight. So
I think so, yeah.
So yeah, if you like this Monday night setup, let us know. Or if you like the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever, just let us know because we want to reach out to you.
Yeah,
It's the
thanks for
best
being
time
here
for a
with
lot
us
of people.
tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other
It's been
comments, you
fun.
guys?
I think
Other
that's
things?
it. That
Rise of Skywalker. What would you give a rating, real fast?
Oh.
Is it
And
ever-
compared to what?
Yeah.
Compared to all film
All-
ever?
Mandalorian?
No.
Not even close.
It's just the Disney trilogy.
Rank the Disney trilogy.
Yeah,
Okay, I would say for me, the last show.
that was number one.
Don't do
No.
it.
You can do it if you
Don't
want.
do
Hey,
it. No.
it's your opinion, man.
No, I would
That's the
probably
beauty.
say, I don't know. You guys go first. I can't do it.
3-1-2.
Yeah,
3,
that's
1, 2.
me. I'm exactly the same way. 3, 1, 2.
Yeah, I think 3's the best. I go back and forth between 2
You
and
like
1.
the filmmaking aspect of Star Wars, though, in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
So I can understand why you like Rise, and you also like things that are different.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that too. And that's in some ways, I think if it would have been done correctly, as
Yeah.
far as like not taking a lot of people off,
Yeah, right. With
then
the
I think
Luke
it would
angle.
have it would have worked. It could have worked.
Yeah, and
Instead-
I mean, I love Luke in the original trilogy, but I don't think it was a Luke for me that like made Star Wars what it is. There's a lot.
Luke wasn't ever your favorite
I
character.
don't think Luke was
really.
my favorite.
Yeah.
Favorite. You know what I mean? I mean,
Han was probably more yours, right?
I liked Han a lot more. I think
Yeah.
Han Solo and
Chewie.
Chewie.
Yeah,
Chewie.
Han and Chewie were just the dynamic duo that were awesome.
I liked him in in Return of the Jedi. I mean,
Yeah.
Luke with
Luke.
like the
Oh
black.
yeah, when he finally has
Yeah.
when he
Yep.
finally is a Jedi.
He's got a
Mhm.
green saber.
Yeah, and I loved his green saber.
Yeah.
That's why Return of the Jedi was my favorite.
Yeah.
growing up as a kid,
Yeah.
because I love that green saber, and he was like, he was awesome then. Like he actually
Yeah.
did
Right.
some sweet fight moves.
Yeah. I mean, Luke is the bomb because he is the ultimate Jedi. So
but I see
but-
that Han Solo was so cool too. You know.
yeah.
Right.
I love the Millennium Falcon and all that whole thing. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool being able to fly that. But Luke, the X-wings are the bomb too. So
But yeah.
anyway, I'd say probably let's just say 3, 2, 1,
3,
just
2,
to be
1.
different.
3,
Yeah.
2, 1.
Okay. Hey, that's totally fine.
But I own both of them. I own Last Jedi, and
The
I
Force
own
Awakens.
on Blu-ray and digital. So
I never got Force or Rise or Last Jedi.
yeah,
I don't know. I
it
couldn't
didn't
do
hit you right away.
I couldn't
yeah.
do it.
But it's
As much
fun.
as it is. But hey, I respect your opinion
Yeah,
for
it's
liking
cool,
it.
man.
Too.
I didn't,
That's the
I
fun
just-
thing.
Yeah,
We can still talk about it.
Yeah.
As
Exactly.
negative as we get about it, it's still Star Wars, and it's fun to talk about.
there's a lot of food for thought.
And you don't hate. You don't have to hate somebody for liking something you dislike.
Right.
In some ways,
I
you don't
can't-
have to.
no,
you
you
can
don't
still
You
have to.
can.
get along.
You don't have to
But you
hate,
don't
hate,
have
hate.
to.
Yeah, exactly.
In the world we live in, you don't have to hate everybody for disliking or
Yes.
disagreeing with something that you
Exactly.
don't like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you boil it down, look, there's other issues in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't need to get mad about
First
everything.
world problems, we
Right,
can still handle
exactly.
it. Yeah,
We have toilets.
we have running water. We have electricity. This is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Anyways, yeah. So you said 3. We didn't actually
1,
rank
2.
them, but yeah, I would say that as far as the movies go, 3, 1, 2 for me. You're
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, 3, 1, 2.
Okay, yeah, sweet. Out of like 10 though, I'd probably give it like maybe like a 6.5, 7.
Yeah,
That's what I was thinking. 6.
Probably 6.5, 7 for as far as the movie goes out of 10.
yeah.
Last Jedi, I'm like probably sitting at like a 4.
Hmm.
And then for Force Awakens, if you would have asked me when it first came out, just because the hype
Mm-hmm.
for Force Awakens, I probably would have said like 8 or 9.
Yeah,
But now that it's kind of died down, I'm sitting at more like a 5,
yeah.
5, 6 maybe.
It's hard to say that-
they're all pretty close.
They're all, for me.
But-
They're all really close too. Yeah, because the Force Awakens still has so many cool moments. but-
And then if you ask me about the original trilogy, it's like basically 10, 10, 10.
Yeah, 10, 10, 10.
It's
Yeah.
up there, man.
Prequels, we're going too far.
Ish.
Anyway,
We're going too far.
we gotta end this.
We've gone
All
over
right.
time.
Well,
We've gone
thanks-
over time for
Thanks
sure.
everybody for
Yeah.
watching.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thank
watching.
you.
And rewatching this if you
Bye.
watch it later, or listening on the podcast that
Yeah.
I edited all of this out.
Thanks for all your comments.
Yeah,
we
thanks
love
for the
hearing from you
comments and
guys. Thank
Chit chatting with us and
you.
Thank you. I said that
giving
really
us
weird.
your.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey!
But if you do want to
It
subscribe
worked.
to El Channel, we will continue to talk Star Wars and
Yeah.
other things and have a lot of fun on whatever night of the week we do make it. So we'll post it earlier in the day like we did today. So if you are subscribed, you'll see, hey, they're going live.
Yeah, and we also,
Facebook.
if you are watching this after the fact and you leave a comment down below, we always read those comments.
Yeah, we
and
respond to every comment.
We'll
Yeah.
respond.
So even in 10 years, so yeah,
Oh, that's a big
10 years.
maybe.
Will
It's like,
YouTube be
okay.
around
We're
in
still
10
playing.
I don't
We're still
know.
making Star Wars fan films.
Yeah. No, but yeah, so we will respond though. So if you guys want to put a comment down below, we'll respond if you have a question or anything like that.
For sure. And hope to maybe get a special guest yet.
If
At
we
least an
can.
interview.
If
We
we
talked to
can.
him. I've been messaging him. So thanks for checking out the show today, guys.
Yeah, look
Stay
forward
on target.
look forward to the new stuff coming out.
Yeah.
Look forward to talking to you guys some more.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, stay on target.
Stay on target.
They came from behind.
Loosen up.
Yeah, we almost forget. Are we still on?